Zhu Shizi is naturally not worried about the annihilation of his family. But offending the prince is not a good thing. He smiled bitterly and quickly said, His Royal Highness. The villain waited for the dog's eyes to be blind. Ming sneered, What crime do you have? Zhu Shizi said that I did not know what crime had been committed, and I was beaten up by you immediately. Is there any king law? Although he thought so, his face was repentant, and he was not afraid of being a golden son. He was very intelligent and quickly found the key point. He said immediately, His Highness, we have evil forces like Qin Human. Our Zhu family's fault. Looking back, I immediately ordered to liquidate Qin Human and not let a bad person go. Ye Mingzhen said that it was so quick to change his face. He nodded with satisfaction, Yes, your Zhu family really is the beam of my dynasty. After that, he withdrew his absolute strength, and the people at the scene immediately resumed their freedom of movement. However, now no one dares to do anything to him, dare to fight the prince, can't find death? Zhu Shizi salivated in front of his face and gave a fist, Zhu Shenzhao, a child of the Zhu family, see His Royal Highness. The pig's face on the left also woke up and said, The villain Qinjia Shizi, Qian Meng, has seen His Royal Highness. The young man on the right is better. Zhang Shui is not so dark. He also said, Little man Gu Jia Shizi, Gu Yang, see His Royal Highness Prince, His Royal Highness Wanfu. Ye Ming nodded slightly, no need to be polite. Zhang Shui secretly said, You are too bold, pretending to be a royal person, but you are deadly. Besides, you are not afraid that they have ever seen a prince. Ye Ming, what's the matter? I said I changed my appearance. But in case they ask you to take out the token, what do you do? Zhang Shui was still uneasy. It will be easier, I won't have to take out the tokens. Ye Ming laughed, but he did not tell Zhang Shui, as the deputy leader of Haoshenjiao, the power that can be launched is quite huge. Zhang Shuiqi said, So, what do you want to do? How to use this identity? Ye Ming said, Look at it again, if you have cheap, you have to take advantage of it. After a few words, the three respectfully invited Ye Ming to Feiyu. They had no doubt about Ye Ming's identity, because Ye Ming's words and deeds raised his hands and feet, and the royal temperament could not be imitated by anyone, and he must be the prince. What's more, Zhang Shui's princess temperament is real, and under her background, Ye Ming even looks more royal. Feiyu started to fly towards the Zhu family. The three sons dedicated their diligence, brought tea and water along the way, and said everything they wanted, as soon as possible to resolve the discomfort in Ye Ming's heart. Fortunately, Ye Ming's performance was relatively peaceful, and it seemed that he had lost his breath. The three were only slightly relieved. Feiyu flew slowly. Zhu Shenzhao asked flatteringly, His Royal Highness is here in Lingye Kingdom. I wonder if it is a business trip or a private visit. Ye Ming casually said, Recruit. How many people were surprised and recruited? Is it time to fight? Zhu Shenzhao quickly asked, His Royal Highness, I don't know how to recruit troops. Ye Ming shook his head, confidential, not to say. Since it was confidential, of course, the three did not dare to ask again, and Qian Qiang laughed and said, How many soldiers does His Highness plan to recruit this time? Ye Ming turned his mind and said, Do you know the Baobing system? He remembers that this package of military systems is not only the Qinglong dynasty, but also other dynasties, which has a long history. The three nodded again and again, naturally no. Ye Ming said, I have made a major discovery in the Tianwei army and need to recruit a large number of soldiers. However, I have limited financial resources, so I decided to adopt a contract system. Several people looked at each other and thought that they had heard the secret. Gu Yang asked, His Royal Highness, have I found the world? Ye Ming sneered, It's not just the big world, it's a united big world, it's extremely rich in resources, it's full of spirits, it's everywhere. As long as we win that big united world, we will be able to dominate the family in the later dynasty. But it's all unified. The three were taken aback and united the world. The so-called United World is an astonishing means by which powerful people forcibly break through the world barrier and connect several large worlds into one. However, every United World is rich in resources and has a large population, which is definitely a big treasure. Zhu Shenzhao wondered inwardly and asked, His Royal Highness, should the strength of the United World be very strong? Are we sure to capture it? Yaming laughed. Originally, there was no chance. Coincidentally, the forces in the United World were fighting, and a group of longevity-level deities had red eyes. As a result, the two sides suffered heavy casualties, leaving almost no combat power. The population is less than 10. If not, we have no chance. The eyes of the three sons all lighted up, and they asked for details, but Yaming just mentioned them briefly and refused to say more. The more so, the three became more itchy and wanted to know more. Yaming only said, This time, the more money you pay, the more you will be in charge. After entering the United World, the private soldiers will own all the sites. The three sons of the eyes became red after hearing. So, wouldn't the three great families be able to unite the world to occupy the land? Zhu Shenzhao quickly asked, His Royal Highness, I wonder if my Zhu family can contract soldiers. Yaming glanced at him lightly and said, This time the troop enlistment is very confidential, and the high-level order has not yet been issued. Your Zhu family can't even enlist the prince, but I dare not say. The threshold is very high, and the reserve price is 1 trillion. What? 1 trillion Valkyrie coins, so much? The three sons were surprised. Yaming shook his head, It's not Valkyrie coin, it's a spirit coin. Recently, Valkyrie coin has continued to depreciate, and the military only needs it. Several of them looked at each other, wondering what to say. Now 1 Phaeton coin can be exchanged for 70 to 80 Wuxian coins. Isn't 10,000 just 7 or 8 trillion Wuxian coins? Where can they raise them? Yaming seemed to say it casually, suddenly turned and asked Zhang Shui, Little girl, do you want to participate in this contract? Zhang Shui nodded in coordination, I have about 3 trillion coins on hand, and I put them all in. Yaming sighed, being used to my brother's hands and feet, he only has more than 20,000 coins, and it is difficult to borrow at this level. Qian Meng immediately said, His Royal Highness, my 1,000 families are willing to participate. My Gu family is also willing. Gu Liang also said in a hurry, very urgent. Yaming waved his hand impatiently, I can't be the master of this matter, let's talk about it later. And told them that this matter must not be told to others. The three repeatedly said yes, but when the excuse came out, they all secretly sent a message to the people. So within a short period of time, the news of Baobing came from the Lingye kingdom like the wind, and even reached more than a dozen Ho kingdoms around, and a lot of forces moved by the wind. Yaming was invited to Zhu's home by Zhu Shen, and the Zhu family always welcomed him with great gifts, splashed water on the street, and the red carpet, and was invited to Zhu house. Yaming only had a few Zhu family members talk a little bit, and then pushed for exhaustion and let everyone back down. Everyone was gone. Zhang Shui laughed with a sigh, and asked secretly, Yaming, what do you want to do? Yaming smiled, Hey, most of these families have oppressed the good, and I took the opportunity to lie to them for a sum of money. Do you mean to borrow money from the contract? Zhang Shui asked in surprise. Can this be done? In such a major event, they will entrust someone to ask high-level officials, and it is likely to be revealed. Yaming waved his hand, Do ntu be a bullshit? The 100 empires found that the United World was indeed something, and the 100 empires really wanted to attack it. Zhang Shui was surprised, How did you know? The news was obtained by Yaming through Haoshen's teaching. At that time, it was not taken seriously. I did not expect that it could be used now. What he said is true or false, no one else can judge. I knew it by chance, Yaming said, this time as long as the action is fast enough, it should not be difficult to save them a sum of money. How much do you want? Zhang Shui asked curiously. As I expected, at least hundreds of forces would come to me and stab me. I asked them to pay a deposit first. The deposit was charged at 1/10, which is about 100 billion coins. According to 100, less said, there are 10 trillion coins. Converted into Wuxian coins, it is 7 or 8 trillion. Ye Ming said his estimate. Zhang Shui opened his mouth in surprise. You are too dark, you want to lie so much. Ye Ming heard that he was black and retorted, this is called robbing the rich and helping the poor. Zhang Shui scorned, you're robbing the rich, how can you talk about helping the poor? Ye Ming smiled, hey, and said, I haven't thought about it yet. But I heard that in the bitter cold north of the Tianyuan continent, there are many people and tribes living very hard. If I have this money, I can help they. Zhang Shui was intrigued, are you going to the north? There is a snow and ice wasteland. Although the snow werewolves and snow giants have been swept away, they are still very dangerous. And under the wasteland, there is an ancient demon god. In case it is disturbed, it's dangerous. Ye Ming said, it's just a preliminary idea, isn't it a matter of saying nothing? What kind of ancient demon do you say, what kind of existence is that? Zhang Shui, it is rumored that the demon has existed since the ancestral age, and has been living to this day. The mana is so powerful that no one on Tianyuan continent is its enemy. I have heard of this, what kind of monster is it? Ye Ming asked. I don't know. Some people say it's a dragon, some people say it's a serpent. There are different opinions. Zhang Shui shook his head. It is said that it wakes up every millennium and goes out for food every 10,000 years. It kills a lot every time it searches for food. The soul caused a huge calamity. I heard that the last time it searched for food, the population of Tianyuan mainland directly reduced by 2/3, and the loss was heavy. Ye Ming almost jumped up, what do you say? The population has decreased by 2/3? Is this true? Why isn't it recorded in the history books? Zhang Shui lowered his head, I don't know the specific situation. I just faintly heard that the emperor mentioned that the demon needs to be sacrificed. 2/3 of the population seems to have been sacrificed by blood. Ye Ming's eyes jumped, and 2/3 of the blood sacrifice was how much? 1 trillion? Or 5 trillion? Seeing Ye Ming speechless for a long time, Zhang Shui sighed softly, sometimes the cruelty of human beings is also beyond our control. If we don't sacrifice, maybe everyone will perish. It's just a demon god. There is at least 1 trillion people in the entire Tianyuan continent, why can't it be? Ye Ming couldn't believe it. According to my father, the demon broke into the 8th state of Changsheng as early as 10,000 years ago. Now 10,000 years are coming, should it be the 9th state of Changsheng? Even to the eternal state. Zhang Shui sighed. What? 10,000 years are coming soon? Ye Ming asked in a trivial surprise. Yes. If I remember correctly, this year is 9,993 years. In other words, in 7 years, it will go out for food again. Zhang Suidao, at that time, I am afraid that it was a storm of blood. The 5 dynasties are trying their best to open up the world of heaven and earth. In fact, they want to transfer people to heaven and heaven to refuge before the disaster. The existence of the northern demon god made Ye Ming's heart feel like a stone, and his face was ugly. In his opinion, the humans of the Tianyuan clan are simply the pigs and sheep raised by the demon god. When they are hungry, they run out and kill a few heads to eat, when they are full, they go to sleep and let the pigs and sheep continue to breed so that he can continue to eat next time. Zhang Shui watched Ye Ming's face change, sometimes gnashing his teeth and sometimes sighing. She knew that this was a great stimulus to him, so she comforted, the sky is falling down and there is a tall man standing on top of it. We fix it lowly and think it is useless. But I can't just watch people being eaten like pigs and sheep. Ye Ming's eyes loomed fiercely. My heart, don't allow me to sit and watch. Zhang Shui was taken aback. Throughout the ages, those peerless geniuses have always been very stubborn. They have a set of standards for their actions. They follow their heart to do things, even if they are in danger, even if they die a lifetime. Yaming seems to be this kind of person. What will he do? Yaming, compared with the demon gods in the 9 realms of longevity, we don't even count the ants, so don't think about it. She advised, by the time of the 5 dynasties and the 9 holy places, the big churches of all parties will naturally take action. It's just a part of it. Yaming shook his head gently and said, I'll discuss this with Master. Your Master? Yaming did not answer. He took out the messenger and contacted Yi Xiantian. Fu Guang flashed, and Yi Tianxian's light and shadow appeared, only the size of a slap, floating in the air. He glanced at Yaming and asked with a smile, Apprentice, what are you looking for as a teacher? Yaming said, Master, do you know the northern demon god? Yi Xiantian was silent for a moment and said, This matter is a top secret, only the high levels of all forces know, but no one will make it public, otherwise the world will be chaotic. Count it, there are 7 or 8 years, then the beast is going out again to look for food. Yaming said with excitement, Master, are there so many martial arts and so many gods, dare not fight against that demon god. Yi Xiantian smiled bitterly, Apprentice, you don't know the power of the longevity strong, its magical powers are beyond our imagination. Although the top 10 people in the Tianyuan list have also stepped into the longevity, they are still extremely compared to that demon big gap. Even if everyone can join hands to win, it is a terrible victory, and many people will fall. Yaming sneered, nevertheless, the long-life masters on the Tianyuan list are afraid of death. Yes, they are afraid of death. Yi Xiantian bluntly said, longevity strong people have a long lifespan. They are short-lived for tens of thousands of years, and many people live for hundreds of thousands of years. In their long lives it is possible to build a huge force and a huge amount of wealth. How can such people be easily involved in danger? Yaming, Master, can you master the rune? Can you build a large team to deal with that demon god? Yi Xiantian shook his head, the chance is not great. If you want to kill the demon god, you must use a ban of more than 360 weights, and at least 36 longevity strongmen to preside over it. In addition, the most difficult point is that the large array is dead, and the demon must be brought into the array. These 3 points are not easy to achieve. Yaming, Master can't build a big ban. There are ways. The materials that can be formed are very expensive and cannot be afforded by individuals. Unless the 5 dynasties join forces, they will invest resources at their expense. Yi Xiantian said. Yaming closed his brows and wanted to say something. Yi Xiantian said, Apprentice, you don't have to think too much. When the time comes, many people and teachers will not stand by. You should work hard to improve your practice right now, no great magical power, you can't do great merit, you understand? Yaming, disciple understand. The light man disappeared, Yaming was silent again. In the middle of the night, Zhang Shui returned to the room to rest. Yaming Huan stayed for a long time. He suddenly sneered, and secretly communicated the merit tablet. Practitioner Yaming, god of Shanghaoshan. There is a long-lived 9 realms demon in Tianyuan continent, who feeds on people and kills countless people. Disciples plead with God to lower down the soldiers, kill this cricket, and protect Lyman. Yaming worshipped on the ground, Long can't afford to worship. In the sky, as if a bell rang, Yaming twisted and changed in the surrounding space. When he could see clearly, he was kneeling on a piece of bluestone floor, and not far away, there was a pond. On the edge of the pond, a man in white was sitting in a tray, fishing with a fishing rod in one hand. Yaming is stunned, what's going on? A dream? He froze himself, grinning in pain, not a dream. Boy, who do you think you are? Would you like to ask Haoshan God with one head? The man in white spoke, his tone was flat and he couldn't hear emotions. Yamingzin said who he is? But he faintly felt that the other party was not small, and then bowed his hand and worshipped, Disciple Yaming, see seniors. Let's get up. As soon as the white man shook his fishing rod at this moment, a king 8 was caught, and Bai fell to the bluestone with the shell facing down, and it looked like it was not light. When Yaming saw his legs kicked randomly, he kindly took a hand and turned it over. Wang Ba stared at him with mung bean eyes. I wonder if it was an illusion. Yaming felt that Wang Ba's eyes were disgusting. Wang Ba, I help you, do you dare to abandon me? Yaming raised his eyebrows and stretched out his hand again. The man in white turned around, his face was vague, and Yaming could not see clearly no matter how he looked. The other laughed, you offended the 8 kings, how can it help you? 8 kings? Help me. Yaming was confused. The man in white said lightly, the demon in Tianyuan is an evil dragon in ancient times, whose name is Na-Wei. It used to be chaotic in the ancestral land of mainland China and was wounded by the strong ones, so he cultivated in a humble way. Later, the source of ancestral land in China collapsed. The luck of the people is very bad, it is just a place for the potential cultivation. Now, the strength of the current consumption is strong, it has the strength of the longevity of the 9 realms, and it is delusional to impact the eternal realm. Yaming was shocked, seniors, don't let it become a god-level powerhouse, or the Tianyuan continent will be over. The man in white smiled slightly, and said, the 8 kings are the king 8 in front of you. They were once bitter rivals. Yaming was startled. What? In front of this ugly king 8, is actually the opposite of bite? So, isn't it strong? Thinking of this, he quickly turned over Wang Ba, and said with a smile, the seniors of the 8 kings, the younger ones do not know, don't blame, don't blame. Wang Ba's green beans rolled up and stared at him fiercely. The people in white continued, we had originally planned to get rid of the sacrifice, even if you did NT come to sue, this time we will make a shot. But since you are willing to step in, this is left to you. There is only one condition, you must promise first. Yaming quickly said, Senior please tell me. By slaying and killing Yan, you must let Haoshan Jiao become the orthodoxy of Tianyuan continent. Humane in white, let them know that without Haoshan Jiao, all of them will be eaten by Yanyan. Yaming was shocked and immediately understood the ambition of the other person. He asked, who is the senior? The man in white laughed, I am a minister under the seat of God, and you will know it in the future. Also, God is very optimistic about you. You have come along all the way and have not supported you. These virtues, you must remember. Yaming naturally understood that he had taken a lot of advantages before, and quickly nodded, the disciples understand. Okay, go. The words fell, the surrounding light and shadow shattered, and Yaming returned to the room. In front of him, a Wang Ba stared at Meng Bin and looked at him with a bad look. Yaming knew that he hadn't dreamed before. He quickly held up Wang Ba with both hands and smiled, Bei, what do you want to eat? As soon as he heard about eating, Wang Ba blinked and turned to look at the table, and there was a small pot of wine on the table. Yaming's eyes brightened, Bai ya likes drinking. Wang Ba nodded. Yaming immediately took out his treasured god brew and poured a bowl on the table. The king Ba then crawled over and drank with a probe. A bowl of wine, it drank in a moment. Yaming clapped his hands, praising, Yai has a good drink. Then he poured another bowl. In this way, he poured it on one side and drank it there, and he drank it all without a moment. Yaming did not continue to fall and asked with a smile, Bei, why don't you turn into a human figure? Wang Ba shook his head and shook his head, sending a trace of information to Yaming with divine thoughts. It turned out that Wang Ba made a big mistake that year and was thrown into the pool of merit by General Zwishan. It was not released until Yaming appeared. Its skill is still sealed. When the demon is born, its skill can be restored. Yaming was a little disappointed and smiled bitterly, so, I have to support you for 7 or 8 years, shouldn't you be poor? The 8 king grinned, and seemed to be saying, boy, another bowl. With more Wang Ba around, Yaming's heart finally settled. He began to think about how to make Haoshanism the first religion of everyone's faith by relying on the slaughter event 7 years later. Thinking again and again, he secretly conveyed an order to Xiao Qiang. The content of the order is that Haoshan Jiao will now preach the terribleness of the northern demon god at all costs, and let Li Min know that only Haoshan Jiao can save them. No other 5 dynasties and 4 gods can do it. Haoshan Jiao was originally not tolerated by the world. There was naturally no pressure to do this kind of thing, and Xiao Qiang immediately ordered it. As a result, a huge underground network began to operate, as large as one country, as small as a village and a town. The believers of Haoshanism took action, and they proclaimed the demon cannibalism in different identities. Regardless of Haoshan Jiao's actions, the next morning, Ye Ming said he was leaving, and the Zhu family hurried to stay. Ye Ming only said that something was happening and he must leave immediately. The Zhu family was in a hurry right now, and the matter of Bao Bao was not settled. How can the Prince Edward leave? The head of the Zhu family, a strong martial arts realm, gave a deep respect to Ye Ming and said, "His Highness, my Zhu family has always been loyal to the court. This time, the Zhu family wants to do their part." The Zhu family's words were beautiful. Ye Ming stopped and hesitated for a while and said, "I really can't be the master of this matter. So, if you really have the heart, pay a deposit first. If the matter is successful, then you can make up the difference. If this doesn't work, the prince will refund the deposit to you." The Zhu family master was overjoyed and said, "Thank your highness. I don't know how much to pay for the deposit." 100 billion coins. Ye Ming said. "Okay, I'll go and raise money right away." The Zhu family owner left happily, and Ye Ming returned to the room. The Zhu family quickly prepared the money, and as early as last night they sent people to investigate. The Ho dynasty found that the great event in the United Nations did exist, and there was also a shortage of troops, so they had 9 points of faith in Ye Ming. The remaining suspicion was quickly covered up by huge benefits. Even if the Zhu family is ready to go any faster, it will take a few days. In these days, Zhu Shenzhao and Qian Meng were accompanied by the crown prince in the mountains and rivers. During this period, Ye Ming used Haoshan to teach the relationship and ordered them to go to prince's house to pick up a few things, including the seal of the prince, and everything that could prove the prince's identity. Haoshan taught a great deal of magical power, and within 2 days he arrived in Ye Ming's hands. A piece of yellow dragon jade pendant, a prince's suit, a folding fan commonly used by princes, the seal of the prince, and the royal silk cloth used by the prince to write seals. Under the cover of these things, Ye Ming, the prince, is even more worthy of the name. So on the 3rd day, forces from all sides flooded into the Zhu family, begging for qualification as a soldier. Ye Ming regularly receives a deposit of at least 100 billion coins. Some wealthy people will pay several times the deposit and come up with not less than RMB 350 billion. Because the more the deposit, the more troops can be acquired in the future, everyone knows this. In just 5 days, the deposit received by Ye Ming broke through the 10 trillion law spirit coins. He knew it was time to close it, so he repeatedly rejected the Zhu family to stay, and Zhang Shui drifted away. They left the Hutu dynasty that day and entered the territory of the Qinglong dynasty. Ye Ming pretended to be a prince, and the matter of collecting a deposit was not seen until a month later. The reason is that the real prince actually went to Lingye Kingdom. This time, Lingye Kingdom may have bombed the nest. Hundreds of forces issued a notice to arrest Ye Ming. Unfortunately, they do not know Ye Ming's identity, they do not know Ye Ming's origin, and it's useless to send more notices. Back in the Qinglong dynasty, Ye Ming contacted Fenji as soon as possible. Fenji soon sent a message that she was not in the Qinglong dynasty and could not return in a short time. Let him be more careful. Feng Zhen's reminder is not without reason. The last time Ye Ming offended many people. The 39th Prince Feng was beaten up. He even killed a lot of warriors of various forces in the virtual world, so the enemy was everywhere. At that time, in order to avoid the wind, he went to Jianqi as Long Xiaobai, and has not returned until now. However, he didn't care much about it, and he is now strong enough to cope with most situations. Not to mention Ji Rugzhu and Xiao Qiang are coming and can be reached in a few days. Back in the Qinglong dynasty, he naturally wanted to see Zhang Heng. Qinglong College still looks like that year. In order to avoid trouble, Ye Ming deliberately changed his appearance, turned into a teenager, and returned to his residence at Qinglong College with Zhang Shui. "I am back." Pushing the door open, Ye Ming laughed. But no one responded to him, no one. He walked through every room, and sure enough he didn't have anyone. Strange, what about people? Ye Ming wondered. He knew that Yan Ruyu always lived with him, let alone Zhang Heng. Just then, someone came in, saw Ye Ming and Zhang Shuai, and raised his eyebrows and asked, "Who are you? Why did you break into my residence?" Ye Ming looked at each other, didn't know, and asked, "This is your house? What about the original person?" "Original people." The other person froze, "You mean Zhang Heng them?" "Yes, you know." Ye Ming quickly asked. The man was furious and said, "The one you are looking for is long gone." "Are you gone? Where have you been?" Zhang Heng was expelled from Qinglong College very early, and his whereabouts are unknown. Luo Bingxian has graduated and returned to Yanyang education. By the way, there is another Yan Ruyu, who was about to graduate, but one day she disappeared suddenly, no one I know where I went. The house was empty and the college assigned me. Ye Ming narrowed his eyes, why was Zhang Heng expelled? As for Yan Ruyu's disappearance, it should be related to the Sky Fox god. Luo Bingxian's return to Yin and Yang religion also surprised him. Isn't she more promising to stay in the east? Let us go, I have to rest. The other party ordered a guest, and Ye Ming could only leave. Ye Ming was so emotional that he took Zhang Shuai to a nearby restaurant for a meal and incidentally inquired about Zhang Heng and Luo Bingxian. As a result, he was really inquired about the three of Zhang Heng. It turned out that Zhang Heng's refining of the zombie scriptures to make zombies had been found, which alarmed the senior management of the college. Some Ye Ming's enemies took advantage of the Black Hands, and Zhang Heng was not only expelled, but he was almost killed, and eventually he could only escape. As for Luo Bingxian's return to Yin and Yang religion, there are also reasons. The 39 prince did not know whether it was due to revenge or other intentions, and often harassed Luo Bingxian. The latter was overwhelmed, and returned to Yin Yang after graduation, a move that seemed to escape the supremacy of the 39th prince. Yan Ruyu also encountered the same situation, except that the person who harassed her was not the wind, but the 13th prince. For a while, Yan Ruyu couldn't even close the door or took on the task of making a distant door to do it. Until recently, she was taken away from the college by a mysterious woman and has not returned yet. Son of a bitch. After inquiring about everything, Ye Ming crushed the cup and was full of anger. Either your friends leave. Zhang Shuai understood the situation, it's dangerous to stay. When you have time, you can go to them. I can't swallow this breath, Ye Ming said coldly, I must do something to let them know that Ye Ming is back. Zhang Shuai, what are you going to do? Ye Ming looked at Zhang Shuai, don't forget, you are Princess Suzaku. So what? Zhang Shuai was puzzled. The who are supreme in the wind must want to be close to you, and I just teach them. Ye Ming said. Zhang Shuai was dissatisfied and said, you want to use me as bait. Ye Ming, thank you very much for turning back. Speak to hear and see if I can agree. Zhang Shuai said cheekily. Ye Ming thought about it, you said. Zhang Shuai turned his eyes and said, have you heard of Marriage Lake? Ye Ming nodded, I've heard that if a person arrives by the lake, he can see the appearance of his future husband or future wife from the reflection, and it is not true or false. Zhang Shuai laughed, I want to go to Marriage Lake, you accompany me. Ye Ming rolled his eyes, the legend may not be true. Zhang Shuai angrily said, will you go? Ye Ming sighed, go. It's just that the Marriage Lake is in the White Tiger dynasty. We have to deal with things before we can pass. Naturally. Zhang Shuai was happy then. Now that Zhang Shuai is willing to help, Ye Ming starts to plan. His plan was simple, using Zhang Shuai as a bait to bring the group of people into the virtual realm, and then he shot them hard and taught them a meal. Moreover, he decided to prepare some soul killer needles in case of need. The forces of Haoshan religion spread across the 5 dynasties. Ye Ming soon revealed Zhang Shuai's identity through Haoshan religion. So long after, the princes of the Qinglong dynasty acted. In Dongdu's most luxurious inn, Ye Ming and Zhang Shuai are drinking and chatting, and laughter is heard from time to time in the private room. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door, and the waiter next to him asked, "Uncle, do you want to open the door?" Ye Ming said lightly, "Go." Xiao Yan opened the door, and the wind came in. When the enemies met, they were extremely jealous, and the wind gave Ye Ming a stern glance, then looked at Zhang Shui again, and he arched and laughed, "Piao Snow Princess, Zhu Yang." Zhang Shui also looked at each other, "Hello. The 39 princes of the Qinglong dynasty, the wind is supreme." Wind introduced himself, "I heard that the princess was here, and I immediately rushed to see the princess's face. Now I see that the true name is well deserved, and the country is famous." Zhang Shui said lightly, "The supreme brother has won the prize, I'm not so pretty." The wind smiled supremely, "The princess came to our Qinglong dynasty. As the landlord, we need to do our best. I have prepared a banquet at the prince's mansion, invited many celebrities and princes, and look forward to the princess face." Zhang Shui and Ye Ming discussed the countermeasures early. She said, "Unfortunately, I still have something. I'm afraid I can't go today." Feng Feng was a little disappointed and asked, "I don't know what to do with the princess? Do you need a little brother to help?" "No need. I'm going to Xuxinjia and looking for a few things at the ancient Tianting site." Zhang Suidao. "Feng has no interest, go to the ancient Tianting site? That place has been rummaged long ago, I'm afraid there is nothing good." "Let's try your luck," Zhang Shui said lightly. "It can't be found, and it's nothing." The wind turned his eyes and said, "So, the younger brother is willing to accompany the princess and seek together." "There is no trouble, supreme brother." Zhang Shui declined, "just with Ye Ming." When it comes to Ye Ming, the eyelids of Supreme Wind jumped and said, "Princess, this person is already a blue dragon and a horse, and she actually has a disagreement with the princess. It is really shameful. The princess must stay away from such people." Ye Ming sneered, "The wind is supreme, this matter has nothing to do with you, right? You have an aunt, Mrs. Shifeng in your family, and come out to recruit Princess Snow? What do you want?" The wind almost fainted, how could there be Mrs. Shifeng in his house? Only 3 rooms are good, this is a serious slander. He exclaimed, "Ye Ming, you better stay away from the princess, or even the princess will not save you." Ye Ming seemed to think of something, and said, "Speaking of the Long Princess, shouldn't you call me an uncle? Come, call and listen." The wind was dead, but it wasn't. The princess was his aunt, and Ye Ming was the husband of the princess. But that's the reason, but what he thought was awkward, he almost wanted to vomit. "Who is your uncle?" Supreme Wind almost jumped up, "Nonsense. It doesn't matter if you don't admit it." Ye Ming shrugged. "I don't like your nephew anyway, you better get away." The wind almost spurted out the old blood in a mouthful, and the giggle of the teeth biting rang, and I wished to go up and beat Ye Ming. Zhang Shui smiled gently and said, "You don't have to be noisy. Since Supreme Brother is so enthusiastic, let's go to the virtual world together." The wind is overjoyed and said, "My brother has a map of the virtual world, but he can also take some followers, and keep it better than Ye Ming, who knows how to lead the way." Ye Ming turned his face in disgust, and the wind was proud, and continued, "If the princess is not in a hurry, it is better to go to the house and sit for a while." Zhang Shui said, "No need. Supreme Brother goes to prepare first, and we leave in 3 hours." Noble Wind nodded, "Okay, I'll get ready." It didn't take long for the wind to blow, and Ye Ming was so happy that Zhou Hao arrived. Zhou Hao left Qinglong College last year and still returns to Yan County to be a county guard, which is relatively promising. As soon as Ye Ming arrived in Qinglong, Zhou Hao was informed. Zhou Hao immediately brought Xiang Xiang to meet. "Brother." Zhou Hao grew up to be a man. He chased after Ye Ming, and he was born beautiful. Ye Ming's heart warmed and he gave him a little hug, and asked, "Did I not let you come?" Zhou Hao scratched his head, "I haven't seen my elder brother for a long time, I really miss it, and Xiang Xiang and I came over to discuss it." Ye Ming introduced Zhang Shui with a smile, "This is Zhang Shui, the princess of the Suzaku dynasty." Zhou Hao almost bit his tongue off and said to my brother that my brother is really awesome. The beauties around him are beautiful and beautiful, and they are also princesses with a distinguished status. See Her Royal Highness Princess. Zhou Hao and Xiang Xiang saw the ceremony. Zhang Shui didn't stand high, nodded, "No need to be polite, you are Ye Ming's friends, and my friends." Zhou Hao grinned, "We are not friends, he is my brother." Ye Ming rolled his eyes and said, "Little poor mouth. I ask you, is the county guard doing okay?" Zhou Hao smiled bitterly, "Last time the demons were chaotic, the people were displaced, and the casualties were terrible. During this time, they were busy with aftermath. Ye Ming, this kind of thing, should there be arrangements on it?" Zhou Hao resentfully said, "The last time of the demon rebellion, Yan County suffered a great loss. The court allocated 10 billion Wuxian coins to the disaster. But did you know that? The money was deducted from layer to layer and it was only returned 100 million left. What can 100 million do? I'm worried now." Ye Ming asked in surprise, "They are so dark." Zhou Hao sneered, "It's more than black. It's just a loss of conscience." Ye Ming sighed softly, "The empire ruled everywhere, it's the same everywhere, you just get used to it. Sometimes I really want to join the Haoshan religion and go through the group of people who are full of righteousness, but actually they are worse than robbers." Zhou Hao said. Ye Ming said, "Don't talk nonsense. With the Haoshan religion, you are an anti-thief and you will be executed." Zhou Hao snorted, "I'm not afraid." A movement in Ye Ming's heart, he now controls Haoshan education. If Zhou Hao joined, it would be good, he could also take care of one or two. But this matter can't be told in front of Zhang Shui, he said, "You go back to Yan County first, here is the matter, I will look for you." Zhou Hao was overjoyed, "Okay, older brother must go. Many old people in Yan County want to see older brother." Ye Ming nodded, "Must go." While Ye Ming was talking with Zhou Hao, a mysterious place in Xingtianja, 5 teenager-like people sat together. If Ye Ming were there, 2 of them would be recognized as the Great Suzaku and the Great Qinglong. The 5 sat silently, and the Emperor Qinglong first said, "The 5 of us haven't met for at least 1,000 years. Emperor Suzaku, little bugs, don't be sensational, just talk about business." The Qinglong Emperor nodded, "Perhaps you all have fresh memories of the recent demon chaos." The Emperor Xuanyu was a boy in black. He asked, "Did they have any new actions?" Emperor Qinglong, "I have been informed that the Beast Emperor has successfully integrated the will of Tai world, and he is ready to attack the Tianyuan continent. Although the Beast Emperor's strength is strong, it does not make us afraid." Said the White Tiger Emperor, "Is there any other bad news?" The Qinglong Emperor sighed, "The Beast Emperor is very treacherous. He is joining forces with a Demon Emperor on the battlefield of the Demon to agree to attack Tianyuan together." "What?" The other emperor was shocked. "How could it be?" Emperor Qinglong, "The news is very reliable." Emperor Suzaku, "And the situation is worse than that. The Kishan religion is fierce. Their goal is to build a unified dynasty and replace our 5 dynasties. So to be precise, we will face 3 major enemies, each of them not easy to deal with. You can rest assured that it is not Kishan Jiao who unifies Tianyuan." At this moment, a voice sounded and an old man slowly walked out. Upon seeing the old man, the 5 emperors suddenly stood up and said in unison, "Gravekeeper." The old man said indifferently, "Yes, I am a gravekeeper, a slave who cares for the owner of a gravekeeper." The Qinglong Emperor narrowed his eyes and asked, "Gravekeeper, what are you going to do here instead of guarding the tomb of the 5 elements? What do you know that I am waiting here for a party?" "It's not a secret." The gravekeeper said, "The gold guards spread throughout the 5 dynasties, and I can easily gather information." The Qinglong Emperor sighed and said, "The 5 elements Emperor has fallen, why are you so persistent? If you don't listen, the orphan of the dynasty you support has no talent at all. Although he has the blood of the 5 elements Emperor, but not suitable for Wang Tuba." The old man snorted heavily and said, "Master Lord is against the sky with wisdom and see, far beyond the 5 of you. What qualifications do you have to look down on him?" The White Tiger Emperor smiled, "Gravekeeper, we are thinking of the 5 elements Emperor, and they have only been allowed to toss these years. Otherwise, do you think that the Golden Guard could go to this day and become the invisible 6th dynasty? The Gravekeeper said lightly, anyway, the power of the Golden Guard is not weaker than any of your dynasties. If you want to cope with the current difficulties, you need the cooperation of the Golden Guard. The Lord sent me to negotiate with you. Don't he dare to come? Emperor Suzaku sneered, is he still so timid all these years? Tomb Keeper, God is in heaven and sky, and is dealing with an extremely important matter. He has no time to divide himself. How can he be timid? Emperor Suzaku smiled, hey, I remember when we were young, we didn't bother him much. The Gravekeeper yelled, Suzaku, please show respect, or today's conversation will end early. Emperor Suzaku coughed and said, say, what do you want to discuss? Tomb Guardian, the 5 emperors have only mentioned the 3 enemies, the Beast Emperor, the Demon Emperor, and Qi Tian Xiao, but in fact there is one more headache, that is the sleeping demon in the north. As soon as the demon was mentioned, the expressions of the 5 emperors were heavy, and they even began to sigh. Tomb Keeper, in fact, the 5 emperors do not need to be pessimistic, but the demon can actually be used by us. Emperor Qinglong, Gravekeeper, what plans do you have? Tomb Keeper, the solution is what the Lord of God thinks about, and it will allow us to do it once and for all and completely destroy that demon god. The 5 emperors shuddered and said, come on. The Tomb Guardian said, in fact, it is very simple, as long as we create a and make it refine the providence of the Tianyuan continent like the Beast Emperor. The 5 emperors shook their heads again and again, saying no. Suanwu Emperor, the gods of the heavenly Yuan are all enshrined by the 4 gods or dynasties. We must make a powerful out of it. Do we have to control it? This method is not feasible. Tomb Keeper, Tianyuan must do this if he wants to be free from calamity, otherwise how to counter the Beast Emperor? How to counter the Demon Emperor? How to face the heavenly religion? Not to mention, there is a demon who eats most of the population. The 5 emperors were silent. They were really powerless and couldn't think of any other way. The Gravekeeper continued to lobby, the Lord God found an inborn fetus in Tianation Nation. According to God's observation, once the fetus is born, it will have the strength of the 8 realms of life. If we add the providence of our Tianyuan continent, it will surely be able to step into the 9 realms of longevity. With such a god, the Tianyuan continent can be safe and sound. No matter the Beast Emperor, the Demon Emperor, Qi Tian Xiao, or the Bite Lord, it is not a problem. More importantly, most of the gods in the Tianyuan continent are controlled by the 4 gods. With this Lord God, the status of the 4 gods will plummet and fall into the existence of a holy place, and they will no longer be able to compete with us. The last one made all 5 emperors be impressed. For 100,000 years, the 5 dynasties have been struggling to get rid of the 4 gods, but they have never succeeded, and they have not even achieved much. There is an opportunity this time, of course they don't want to miss it. After secretly communicating, the Qinglong Emperor said, we initially agree. However, the congenital fetus must be given to us for training. The Gravekeeper shook his head, the divine fetus must be raised by the Lord. If the 5 emperors do not agree, this is the end of the matter. Qinglong Emperor said, Gravekeeper, the fetus must be trained by us. Gravekeeper, sorry, the fetus will be raised by the Lord. The 2 sides have been arguing for a long time, and finally take a step back. The fetus is fed by 5 emperors and the Lord. Yaming knew nothing about such a major event in the Tianyuan continent. Soon after Zhou Hao's departure, the wind came, and he was followed by a group of experts who seemed to be the reinforcements he invited. Yaming was not surprised, and said coldly, why, afraid of being beaten in the virtual world, so find such a helper. Fart. Regardless of the image, Feng Feng swears. Although your strength is good, it is nothing in the entire Qinglong dynasty. I will be afraid of you. Yaming sneered, and said, let's see you in the Wuzhen desert. After that, his soul and Zhang Shui's soul projected into the virtual heaven. The Supreme Master Feng also successively projected into the virtual world, and a group of people appeared in the Wuzhen Desert. The Wuzhen Desert is an endless desert. Occasionally, you can see some residual monuments, which are left over from the ancient Heaven Court era. The wind is supreme, princess, there are many ancient Tianting ruins. There are not many in the Wuzhen Desert. Why don't we change to another place? The Wuzhen Desert is good for Yeming, and he naturally wants to change. Zhang Shui naturally did not agree, saying, "Find it first, maybe you will find it." After speaking, he separated from Yeming and walked to the left. "Yeming, go to the right." A ray of fine light flashed in the eyes of Supreme Master Feng, signaling a group of people to follow Zhang Shui. He himself brought a group of masters, who left Yeming a long way away, ready to find a chance to start. Wind Supreme followed 12 people, almost all of whom were martial saints. Wind Supreme itself also reached the level of Wu Zun. They followed Yeming and were clearly unwilling. "High Lord, this son is so bold, he dared to be separated from the princess. Isn't he afraid we will deal with him?" A subordinate asked. Supreme Wind sneered, "He is an arrogant idiot, thinking that he can dominate the world with a little skill. The first will let him taste the taste of the perfect soul array. Remember, don't kill him easily, I won't well torture this dog thing." "Did your highness make a big deal? No matter how strong the boy is, he is Wuzhen. Even in the Wuzhen Desert, any of us can win him." A subordinate did not know Yeming's record, so he said. Supreme Master Feng glanced at him fiercely, and said, "Don't take care. Do you know how many warriors he killed in the Wuzong Plain last time?" "What? He killed Valkyrie in the virtual world." The subordinate's face changed, revealing a deep dread. The strength of the warrior, even in the Wuzong Plains, far surpassed the ordinary Wuzong. How could he be killed? How strong is this Yeming? This son is indeed a genius, but it is too arrogant and cannot be used by me, so it must be removed. You have prepared the soul killer needle, and once he finds that he is going to escape, immediately fight." Feng Supreme said fiercely. "Yes." Everyone answered. Yeming walked in the desert with a sneer. He knew that the Supreme Wind would definitely shoot, and if he was the Supreme Wind, he would also shoot. He was thinking about how to teach the Supreme Wind, or simply kill him, and the voice of the will of heaven in his mind suddenly sounded, "Yeming Ye, a palace in Wuzhen Desert hidden in space and time, if you can enter it, you can become the owner of the palace." Yeming said, "What palace has a baby in it?" That was the palace of the eldest son of Emperor Tian, and the palace where Zhu Tianzi lived was called the Palace of Longevity. Zhu Tianjing was good at Dandao and formation methods. He could have inherited the position of Emperor Tian. Unfortunately, Tianting disintegrated. Falling. Tianting Will said, "The Changsheng Hall is currently the only palace in Tiantian ruins intact, and the treasures in it should still be." Yeming's heart became eager at once, and even the thought of teaching the wind to the supremacy faded, and asked, "Is this the only thing I know?" "Yes. As a tester, you have the right to know first. The rest cannot get the relevant information." Tianting said, "But you can't take care. The rest can find it if they are lucky enough." Eternal Life Hall. "How can I find and enter the Hall of Longevity?" Yeming asked the key. "Every 12 hours, the Changsheng Hall will appear randomly at any point in the Wuzhen Desert. So I can't tell you the exact location. Everything depends on luck. It is more difficult to enter the Changsheng Hall, and you need to crack the large array outside the hall." Tianting Will say, "In my memory, 13 people tried to enter the Palace of Longevity, but all failed." Yeming nodded, "I see, thank you." The will of the Heavenly Court disappeared again. Yeming was planning to quickly kill the Supreme Wind, or it would affect his search for the Palace of Longevity. Seeing that Yeming had gone far enough, a few people caught up with the wind and they scattered Yeming around the center. Yeming stopped and glanced coldly at several people. "What is it?" Supreme Wind sneered, "Yeming, do you think I will let you go? What if you don't let me go?" Yeming sneered, "Just because of your waist, you want to deal with me." This was obviously looked down upon, and several people were immediately furious, and one of his subordinates yelled, "Yeming, you are already dead. What are you arrogant about? Boom! Suddenly, the 12 men took out a banner at the same time and plunged them into the sand. After a while, flying sand and rocks, black smoke permeated, and a horrifying force shrouded the scene. Yeming felt extremely uncomfortable. Ha ha ha! Yeming, this is the soul array prepared for you. In the soul array, you can't even withdraw from the virtual world, you can only be slowly killed. Yeming's voice came out, idiot, don't you know I'm the best at rune? Well, what are you good at? You're going to die in there, too. Sissy. 13 people, together with the supreme wind, shot Yeming at the same time. Unfortunately, before these needles touched Yeming, they were shaken by the protective body formed by Ruyi robes. Yeming quickly calculated that the successful 7-element abacus array, plus the 7-level abacus array and cause and effect ring, within half an hour, he found the flaw of the soul formation. He took out 3 Valkyrie coins, and with all his urging, the Valkyrie coins turned into 3 strands of Shenmeng, which were fired at 3 positions in the Spirit Soul Array. Boom! The Spirit Soul Array immediately shook violently, and then banged with a blast, and the 12 people were blown up, and even the Supreme Wind was affected. Before Feng Feng had time to recover from the shock, Yeming scammed like a ghost, and 2 iron fists hit at an incredible speed. Bang bang bang! Suddenly, the wind hit hundreds of punches, and the beaten nose was swollen, and all his good teeth were lost. Worse, Yeming kicked a few feet in his crotch, causing extremely painful injuries. The 12 subordinates were stunned. Isn't this a fight with the skin? Hurrying forward to help each other, but in the Wuzhen desert, everyone's cultivation is suppressed at the level of Wuzhen. Wuzhen is martial arts. They are 10,000 miles behind Yeming. Boom! As soon as he arrived, he was blown away by Yeming. So, after just a few breaths, the 12 subordinates were all lying on the ground. Taking advantage of this emptiness, the Supreme Wind urged Su Tianling and escaped from Su Tianjia. Immediately afterwards, the subordinates of other people also left and did not dare to stay for a while. Yeming didn't plan to really kill the man. After all, everyone knows that if the wind really kills the wind, that is to tear his face with the Qinglong dynasty, which is not yet a step. Regarding the supremacy of the wind, a little lesson is enough. Even if he really wants to kill him, it is by no means in this situation. Easily chasing the wind, Yeming began to look for the Temple of Eternal Life in the Wuzhen Desert. Since he did not know when and where the Changshendian appeared, he could only try his luck. If luck is good, it will be discovered soon, if luck is bad, he may find months or even years. When looking for the Palace of Longevity, he was surprised. He encountered a group of people all wearing black robes. One of them looked like a teenager with cold eyes. He held a compass-like thing in his hand and walked around. The 2 sides met unexpectedly. The teenager looked up at Yeming and then whispered to the people around him, "Remove." So out of the crowd, a black-robed man approached Yeming. With a smirk on his face, he approached and asked, "Boy, if you don't want to die, get out of the Wuzhen desert immediately." Yeming's eyebrows twisted in one place and said coldly, "Wuzhen desert is yours." The man in the black robe smiled at Yin Yin, raised his hand, grabbed Yeming, and said, "Look for death? Complete you." The other party displayed a magical power, raised his hand and grabbed it, and at the foot of Yeming, a big 5-finger sharp hand appeared, slamming it. Yeming didn't move, and Ruyi's robe automatically opened a spherical mask. The big hand caught on the mask immediately inspired the defensive restraint on Ruyi's robe. Boom! The mask shook, and the bare hands disappeared into a light rain. The caster groaned, and then stepped back, his face turning pale as paper, and cold sweat on his forehead. The others were taken aback. What weapon was that? Good defense. Just your skill, dare to threaten me. Yeming's eyes widened, and suddenly he raised his hand, and the aura was full of runes, condensed into a large rune hand, and pressed directly to the other side. This seemingly random press, without using any magical power, merely gathered the gossip to form a gossip. However, his energy was too ambitious, and his power was extremely great. As soon as his big hand came out, the absolute power would hold the opponent unstoppable. The young man in the group looked out loud and shouted. Unfortunately, it was useless. The man in the black robe couldn't move at all. He watched Ye Ming's rune big hand fall down. The rune light flickered and the airflow surged. His physical body and Yuan Shen were instantly hanged by gossip. Off. After Ye Ming killed one person, he forced him towards the group and said coldly, "Who said you were going to get rid of me just now?" The young man frowned. It seemed quite unexpected that Ye Ming had such strength. He stood out and stared at him. "Friend, you are good." "Shameless thing, who is your friend?" Ye Ming shouted without giving face at all. The boy suddenly became angry, and yelled, "I don't know what is dead or alive. Do you think you can be arrogant by defeating one of my subordinates? It should be you who is arrogant. This Wujun desert doesn't belong to anyone, and I don't know you. You must get rid of me as soon as you meet. This is not only arrogance, but also stupidity. About you think that people in this world, except you are ants. Unfortunately, you do not know, in my eyes, you are also ants." Ye Ming said indifferently. "You say I'm a gnat." The boy's robe automatically stared at Ye Ming without wind. "Ignorant things, do you know who I am? Your identity is a native of God? The prince of the dynasty? The sacred son of the Holy Land? Or the mess from heaven? No matter who you are, if you apologize today, you can't leave alive." Ye Ming gently fluttered. "It's arrogant." The black-robed people behind the boy scolded. "Our young master is a peerless genius who is the source of the Sea of God. He has gone to trials to compete with the geniuses of all civilizations and live out. What qualifications do you have to look down on?" Ye Ming was very surprised. He entered the trial ground. So, one of the 3 Tianyuan people who entered the trial ground in front of the teenager? Just why never saw him at the beginning? Did the kid hide after entering the trial ground? Can this come out alive? Trial ground? I haven't heard of it. Ye Ming snorted. "I ask, do you want to apologize or want to be killed by me?" "Yeah, I'll end you personally." The teenager reached out and pointed out, and numerous green vines suddenly appeared under Ye Ming's feet, sticking out like tentacles, and tied his body firmly in an instant. "Master is careful, this person knows magic." Bei Ming reminded immediately. "Spells? Do you have the magic soul?" Ye Ming was surprised, let alone those vines entangled, careless. With a look of arrogance, the young man said, "Yes, I have advanced to the 4th level of martial spirits, Fao Soul. My martial arts master is natural, able to read the law, and is good at magic." "That's the same with your spells." Ye Ming snorted scornfully, and with a little hard work, the vine broke down and could not hurt him at all. The boy frowned. "Do you think you can resist my spells with a robe? 5 thunders top, fall." Click. In the void, a thick fist of lightning fell and hit Ye Ming severely, making a rumbling noise, which exploded with the Ruyi robe's defensive mask blinking. Click. Another lightning fell, and this time the blow was more fierce. Ye Ming snorted and said, "Doesn't the cast consume physical energy? I can see how long you can persist." After that, he put on the rune armor that Yi Xiantian had sent him. This set of rune armor contains 9 sets of 108-1000-1000 band defensive formations, 108 sets of 81,000-1000 band kill formations, and a set of 360,000 band formations. Limping and stealth formations. He had limited levels before and was unable to play the role of rune armor. But now that he is a martial artist, his strength is quite strong, and he can basically exert its power. A weird scene happened. He had just put the armor on his body, and Ruyi robe sent out a weird power. Under this power, Fu armor was broken into countless dying runes, and all of them were swallowed up at once. Ye Ming screamed, "What are you doing in Beiming? Beiming Dao, Master, Fujia can greatly complement Ruyi's robes and make them more perfect." "Ye Ming, do you mean that Ruyi robe can be improved?" "There is the word Ruyi in the Ruyi robe, and in theory it will always be close to perfection. Bai Mingdao, swallowing this set of rune armor will greatly help it. Lightning strikes in this area are not a problem at all. The next moment, Yaming felt that there were many more forbidden law formations in Ruyi's robes, and they perfectly formed a whole. Master, now it is necessary to expend the rune money to urge Ruyi robe. Bai Mingdao. When Yaming was about to throw out a series of 9-level rune money, Ruyi's robe immediately began to run frantically. With Yaming as the center, mysterious bright runes appeared on the ground with hundreds of steps, condensing into 12 rune pillars. Stand still. Boom. 3 thick thunderbolts fell and hit the pillar, and the countdown to the power of the thunderbolt was directed into the ground, and Yaming did not even lose his root hairs. Well? Ruyi robes can actually change the defense array according to the type of attack. He asked in surprise. Beiming, yes, this is the essence of Ruyi robe, which changes with the environment. Whatever spell the enemy uses, I will respond with what kind of formation. The young man was taken aback. The large array under Yaming's cloth was obviously able to defend the legal array. How did he do it? Yaming grinned loudly, if you have only this means, you are afraid to lose. Heaven devour. The young man squeezed his tactics, and his face became extremely vulgar and full of anger. In the void, countless channels of black gas dangled, forming a strange shape of ghosts of heavenly demons, which flew towards Yaming. Change for me. Yaming sang softly, Ruyi robe changed again, the 12 pillars disappeared, replaced by a lotus-shaped magic circle, and Yaming sat in it. This method, called Shi Fang Clean Method, can exorcise the soul. Yaming lived there. Chunyang Wuhan was extremely strong. The demon fell into his body that day and was burned out instantly. They even made a squeaking sound, which sounded extremely harsh. The demon was burned to death, the young martial spirit shook, his face suddenly turned white, and he was angry. What did you do? Yaming smiled. Hee, I didn't do anything. Your spell is too much. Can you come up with something decent? The young boy was shocked. He was not only a genius, but also very clever, otherwise he would not have reached today. Yaming's various performances are amazing, which shows that the opponent's strength is far above him. He took a deep breath, his tone turned mild, and said, Friend, you are amazing. I apologize for my previous behavior and am willing to offer something as a gift. Instead, Yaming froze. His so-called apology was just a casual comment, but he never expected that the other party would agree. He smiled, hey, and said, it depends on what kind of gift you pay. A great gift. The boy looked mysterious. Have you heard of the Palace of Longevity? Yaming's heart jumped. Changsheng Hall? This kid also knows the Hall of Longevity. With no expression on his face, he asked lightly, what is the Hall of Longevity? The boy smiled and said, the Hall of Longevity is the residence of the Emperor of Heaven in ancient heaven. It is fully preserved and contains countless treasures. Yaming narrowed his eyes, will you tell me such a big news? I said, this is a gift. What kind of friend is this gift, right? The boy asked with a smile. Instead, Yaming was more vigilant and asked, did you know where the Longevity Hall is? The Longevity Hall is in this Wuyujun desert. It's no secret that our predecessors of Shenhai have come here to explore. Unfortunately, we lost the Longevity Hall. The boy said, the Longevity Hall is good, but it is also very dangerous. Since it is dangerous, why do you come? Is there a way for you to enter? Yaming was interested. I am not sure to enter the temple completely, but I have a way to find the Palace of Eternal Life. He looked at Yaming. Friends, you have amazing means. Maybe you can help me enter the palace. There are countless treasures in the Palace of Eternal Life. I have little chance to go in and survive alone. If you and I can help each other and advance together, maybe there is still a chance. Yaming shook his head, it's a pity I don't believe you. You will believe me, said the boy faintly, I apologize again for my previous rudeness, but this does not prevent you from trusting me. Yaming sneered, trust you? Why? In my surname Ji, said the boy proudly. Ming was about to laugh at the other person, and suddenly his heart moved, and asked, "You are the stranger nicknamed GXIN on the Tianyuan list?" The young man nodded, "Yes, GXIN is my father and he is under Jinyo." Ming sighed and said, "I really should believe you. It turns out that there are some people on the Tianyuan list. Although the ranking is not the highest, they are the most famous. GXIN, he must do what he says, he must do what he does, he is called Ji Juding." It is said that he has not kept his word since the beginning of his speech, and there is a widely circulated story. It was said that GXIN was 10 years old and bet against a playmate of the same age. At the time, GXIN was very confident in his uncle, and he was very young and said that if he lost, he would eat one of his fingers. As a result, the opponent's uncle won, and said that he didn't have to eat his fingers, and asked him to eat a candy gourd. However, GXIN said that if people do not believe without standing, what they say is not a hero. So, in front of the playmate, he ate his little finger raw, scared the playmate stupidly, and went home crying and told the adult. Since then, GXIN's fame has spread far and wide. And when he grows up, he is all in one and can do nothing. It is precisely because of his must-have character that he has become a celebrity that everyone trusts, and friends all over the world. It is said that 1/3 of the people on the Tianyuan list are his close friends, and the remaining 2/3 all have some friendship with him. GXIN's fame is so great that even Ming has heard of it. Since the person in front of him is GXIN's son, he must not be worse. Jinyo smiled slightly, "I just let my slaves get rid of you just because I was worried that you would prevent me from looking for the Temple of Eternal Life. It is not malicious. This place is the virtual world, which just kills you, and it is just a loss of vitality." Ming snorted coldly, "I am a soft person, not a hard person. You are looking for the wrong person." Jinyo nodded, "In short, it's my fault. I'm looking for the Palace of Longevity, but there is no way to get in, so I hope my friends can help me." "I trust me?" Ming asked. Jinyo smiled and said, "My father used Xin Wen to reach the world. After he entered the long life, his old man created a magical power called Zioxinianshu. Using this technique can roughly judge a person. Is it honest and trustworthy? Just now, I have secretly performed this technique, my friends are also believers." Ming was speechless for a while, saying that this magical power is useful. Even if one can trust, is it not allowed to change his mind halfway? "I haven't asked my friend's name yet," Zinyo said. "Ming, in Ming." Zinyo arched his hand, "Brother Yet. Ming, Brother Ji can find the Hall of Longevity." "Of course." Zinyo said, pointing at the compass-like thing in his hand. "This is a treasure hunter. It is a treasure. With it, as long as the Hall of Longevity appears here, we can immediately find." Ming thought about it and said, "I may not be able to help you enter the Palace of Longevity, but in case it succeeds, we too must have a charter." Jinyo nodded, "Naturally. Whoever sees or finds a certain kind of baby first enters the Hall of Longevity, who belongs to the baby. If they are found together, then they are divided equally. Can you look good?" Ming didn't want to take the other side all the time and shook his head, "Into the Hall of Longevity, we act separately." Jinyo was silent for a moment and said, "It's just that we can't help each other. I think there should not be many traps in the Changsheng Hall. After all, it is the residence of Tianzi. As long as it can be entered safely, the rest is not a problem." Ming said, "So we better separate our actions so that we can discover the treasures to the greatest extent." Jinyo had to nod his head, "Let's do it now, act separately." Therefore, Ming joined Zinyo's team to find the Palace of Longevity with them. Ming followed silently, not talking much, but that Zinyo was very talkative, looking back and chatting with him from time to time. Without knowing it, half a day passed. When Ming Sheng wondered if there was a problem with the treasure hunter, Jinyo suddenly stopped and stared at the treasure hunter and shouted, "Come out." Ming took a closer look, and the treasure hunting instrument flickered frantically, with a light needle on it pointing to the left and forward. "Go." Jinyo's eyes brightened, and he waved his hands and rushed to the crowd. The group flew quickly, and within a short time they saw a magnificent palace standing in the desert. No palace in the world, even Qixinjiao's architecture, can be compared with it. Longevity Hall. Ye Ming's heart jumped a little, his breathing was short. Jinyo smiled slightly, put away the treasure hunter, and said, Kung Fu is worthy of someone who cares, brother Ye, we found it. When they found the Hall of Longevity, everyone was in a hurry, and approached slowly. As he walked and observed, Ye Ming found that there were several layers of divine light outside the Longevity Hall. To be sure, each of the heavy divine lights represents a kind of prohibition. They want to enter the Hall of Longevity, but they are afraid of every difficulty. A group of people finally reached the periphery of the Changsheng Hall. The pillars outside the hall were as thick as a mountain peak, and people standing below were even smaller than ants. 981 giant pillars propped up the entrance to the main hall, with ancient pictures and words inscribed on the pillars. Jinyo said with emotion, Is this the Palace of Longevity? It is too magnificent. According to rumors, the emperor has a huge body, which seems to be true, otherwise why build the palace so huge? Ye Ming knew that the higher one's cultivation, the taller the true body became. For example, he is now Wu Jun. If he naturally releases his body, he will have at least 10 feet of physical body. And Wu Zun, Wu Sheng and even Wu Shen above need not say. Valkyrie, in particular, can easily have Bei's Hang true body. I was thinking about how to enter the Changsheng Hall. The surrounding space fluctuated continuously. First, a group of people came out, and the headed person couldn't be more familiar. It was Zhang Tai, who he hated. As soon as Zhang Tai's hang appeared, a group of people came out on the other side. The head of the group was relatively unfamiliar, but his temperament was not weaker than Zhang Tai's hang. He followed the wind and the wind behind him. Prince Qinglong. Immediately afterwards, 4 more people appeared, and Ye Ming didn't know each other. Jinyo's face suddenly became difficult to look. Secretly, the 5 dynasties and the Golden Guard are here. Have we been followed? You mean they come from the 5 dynasties and the Golden Guard? Ye Ming was surprised. Yes, I have seen the prince of the 5 dynasties, and I won't admit it. Jinyo frowned, as if thinking about something. As soon as 5 groups of men and horses appeared, their eyes fell on Ye Ming's group. Zhang Tai sneered and led the crowd. He glanced at Ye Ming and asked, Are you still dead? Ye Ming snorted coldly, How could I die before driving you into infernal purgatory? When Zhang Tai waved his hand, the people around him immediately surrounded Ye Ming. Jinyo's subordinates looked at him one after another, and they obviously did not know what to do. After all, these people have come to trouble Ye Ming, it has nothing to do with them. And the people of the 5 dynasties are not easy to mess with, they do not want to conflict with them. Jinyo stood in front of Ye Ming and said lightly, In the next Jinyo, should this be Prince Suzaku? Mrs. Zhang glanced scornfully at Jinyo and said, It's a matter between you and me. Although Ji is famous, Prince Ben hasn't put it in his eyes. Don't you look at the source of Shenhai. Shen Jinyo's subordinate drank. Mrs. Zhang snorted softly, The source of the Shenhai is the source of the Shenhai, you are you. Just as I cannot represent the eternal mountain of God. Ye Ming admired Zeno quite well, and at this moment, he didn't have to do it at all. He stepped forward and patted Jinyo's shoulder, and smiled, Thank you brother Ji. But it's up to me to solve my problem. Xianyo said, Brother Ye, I think the people around Zhang Tai's hang are very extraordinary. If they use you to fight against you, you will not be able to resist it. Although the Wujun Desert suppresses individual cultivation, it does not suppress the power of killing. In other words, if a group of people join forces to form a powerful killing team, they can easily kill the opponent. You can rest assured, I'm their ancestor, Ye Ming said confidently, then bypassed Jinyo and came across Zhang Tai's hang. Mrs. Zhang, last time I cut off your identity and identity. I don't know if you came back from real identity or identity. Ye Ming asked, deliberately repeating the old thing. Mrs. Zhang was really stimulated, Her face became difficult to look, and she said, Yeming, do you think that you are a grassroots citizen, really qualified to fight against Prince Ben? That's how Prince Edward is. I didn't kill it. Yeming looked down. If you have a seed, come out and fight alone with me, Wu Jun versus Wu Jun. If you don't, you kneel and call Grandpa 3 times, I will consider letting you go. The people around were stunned, and even the other 5 parties were surprised, thinking that this boy is really crazy. What is his crazy capital? Of course, everyone is also watching Mrs. Jiang's ugly. After all, the prince of the 5 dynasties did not deal with it very much. Oh, the family is extraordinary, even a mortal dared to let them kneel, it really gives the royal long face. Yeah, we are an eye-opener. Listening to the harsh discussions around him, Mrs. Jiang couldn't help even her temper, and shouted, give me it. Brush. The people around moved suddenly. 9 people surrounded Yeming at once, each holding a flag. The wind and clouds surged, the thunder trembled, and the killing gas pervaded the surrounding area. The killing array formed instantly, trapping Yeming in the center. Mrs. Jiang said coldly, Yeming, this is the refining soul array specially created by the prince for you. Once you enter this array, even if you are strong, you must let your soul fly. Really? I want to see, how do you refine my soul? Yeming sat down calmly. It wasn't that he despised the opponent, but that the Ruyi robe that swallowed Fu Kai was too powerful, and one of the defensive arrays inside arbitrarily took out one, which could not be broken by such shit. The Wujun Desert suppresses individual cultivation, but does not suppress the power of the robe, because the robe is still a legal formation in essence. Call. Heaven and earth, in all directions, suddenly burst out numerous green flames, licking at Yeming like a tongue. This fire is the fire of soul refining, which not only burns the flesh but also burns the martial spirit. Yeming, how do you feel? Zhang Tai sneered again and again, and seemed to be holding the ticket. Yeming just lost a few strings of rune money and spread a heavy blue water curtain around his body. The tongue of fire touched the water curtain and went out immediately, and he could not be hurt at all. Instead of answering Mrs. Jiang's question, he sighed, I feel good, I feel like taking a steam bath, and His Royal Highness Prince Lao, please add more fire. Everyone around laughed haha. Zhang Tai's face muscles were pumping straight, he gritted his teeth and said, okay. I don't believe you can hold on. After that, he reached out and took out a black cormorant, with bones painted on it. He shuddered, and several skeleton warriors appeared in the array, holding bone knives and bone spears, stabbing at Yeming's water curtain. Yeming laughed, is this for a bath? I don't have to, I can come by myself. Without his urging, Ruyi robes urged a large defensive array by themselves, and a heavy golden light curtain blocked it. Before the water curtain, the bone knife and bone spear stabbed on it, and it rang. Seeing this, Jinyo seemed to think of something, and secretly asked, Brother Ye, but Ruyi robe. Yeming had a good feeling for Jinyo, and did not hide him, exactly. I have also been to the trial ground. Jinyo admired his face and said, I was entangled by a woman in the trial ground, and I didn't catch up with the big show. But I have heard people say that Brother Ye's reputation is really a genius who swept civilizations. My brother is very convinced. Yeming, Brother Ji passed the prize. For me, the biggest gain from the trials is not the robe of ideals, nor the improvement of strength, but let me see the huge gap between martial arts civilization and other civilizations. I waited as a member of martial arts, it should be carried forward to a higher level. Jinyo nodded, Brother Ye is extremely true. However, he said that Mrs. Jiang couldn't kill Yeming when she saw her. She immediately hurried up and shouted to the crowd, Prince Gold, use me as a ghost gate. Among the 6 party horses, there is a handsome and white-faced boy. He is wearing a golden chain mail, holding a golden heavy halberd, and is followed by a group of golden guards. The young man shouted and shook his lips and said, This Yeming is also my golden guardian. I can't help him because he is worthy of you. Do you want to borrow my ghost door? Mrs. Jiang snorted, and then turned to Prince Qinglong and said, The wind is skyless. May I use the Xianxian bridge in your hand? Prince Qinglong Fengguishan is a magnificent young man. He didn't speak, and the wind behind him and the wind said in unison, Prince, lend it to him. The wind was skyless but ignored them, and said lightly, this Yaming is my Qinglong dynasty's people, and this prince is hard to help. Jiang's angry face was all blue, and he turned to Prince Hutu, but before he spoke, the handsome young man even waved his hand, don't ask me to borrow, I didn't bring anything. Repeatedly rejected, Mrs. Jiang was very shameless, and he gritted his teeth to find a charm from his arms. As soon as this sign came out, everyone's color changed, and then Prince Tu exclaimed, bad luck. The words didn't fall, Zhang Tai's hang had urged the bad luck rune, a ray of black light, invisible and innocent, shot at Yaming. Ruyi's robe changed again, a hot glow burst out, shining like the sun. However, the black light actually broke through the void, bypassed the defense, and pierced Yaming's mind strangely. Bad! He yelled, trying to resist the soul power, but found that the black light disappeared as soon as it came in, and seemed to blend into his body and soul. What the hell? He was surprised. Beiming, Master, that's a bad luck symbol of bad luck. From then on, the Master is afraid of getting bad luck. Is there such a spirit? Yaming was startled. Mrs. Jiang laughed, haha, Yaming, you can let me use the big bad luck charm, which is enough to be proud of me. This amulet was originally used to deal with of longevity, but I didn't expect it to be used on you. Yaming didn't feel the same, and sneered, what bad luck, who is it to scare? Mrs. Jiang sighed heavily, this bad luck symbol originates from which civilization, you will soon know how powerful it is. Although I don't kill you today, your future life will be 10,000 times more painful than living. At a glance, others couldn't fight, and began to pay attention to Chang Shendian. Mrs. Jiang knew Yaming's ability and was really good at fighting. Everyone was okay, so she also withdrew people. Yaming still returned to Jinyo's side to study the method of entering the Hall of Eternal Life. The gate of the Changsheng Hall is very thick and tall, and it is tightly closed. Outside the gate, there is a lot of light and power. Brother Ye, how do you see this door open? Since Jinyo knew Yaming had also entered the trial ground, he valued him even more. Yaming has observed for a while, and said, His Royal Highness has 9 prohibitions, and they are integrated with each other. It is not possible to forcibly break it, but to think of other ways. Jinyo Yuxi, what's the solution? Yaming pulled Zainola aside, and said, in my observation, there is a small teleportation matrix hidden in the 9-fold prohibition. This teleportation array should be used for the transfer and connection of the legal array. It is precisely because of its existence, these 9 prohibitions can be unpredictable and connected vertically and horizontally. What does Brother Ye mean? If we disrupt the teleportation matrix, the 9-fold prohibition cannot continue to operate satisfactorily and even conflict with each other. Then, we may still have a chance. Yaming analyzed. Jinyo glanced around and said, it's not just us, if we break it, we will only be picked up by others. Not in a hurry, Yaming said lightly. We prepare slowly and wait. The other 6 groups continued to try various methods. Prince Baihu even wanted to break the force. As a result, one of the heavy restraints shook slightly, and several of his subordinates were wiped out. This incident made everyone abandon the plan to attack, in search of breakthrough points. 1 hour passed, 2 hours passed, and the princes gradually became impatient. After that, Prince Tu wiped his sweat and cursed, Mother, it was difficult to know that, but I didn't expect it to be so difficult. Prince Qinglong, if it is not difficult, this longevity hall has been entered 100 times already, and it will be kept to this day. Prince Suzaku, after rumored that he entered the Temple of Eternal Life, he will be able to get the inheritance of Heavenly Father and become the master of this temple. I do not know if it is true or not. Whether it is true or not, let's go ahead and talk about it. Prince Xuanyu was still a teenager, and said in a childish voice, everyone should discuss with each other at this time to see if they can find a way. At this time, Prince Gold suddenly exclaimed, Yaming, come here. Ming secretly scolded his mother, but he was still the Golden Guard in name. Gold was so summoned that he couldn't help but went to it with a smile and gave a gift. The subordinates have seen the prince. Obviously, this prince of gold has heard Ming's name, otherwise he would not recognize him. He laughed, our gold guard really has talent, no wonder Xuanzang always mentions you. It's too good to command the adults, and their subordinates are very ordinary. Ming said. Prince Gold, Ming, Prince Ben asked you to come here. I want to ask, you are clever and proficient at rune. Can you crack it? No wonder Ming wanted to tell you, and he quickly said, there is no good way for the subordinates. Oh! Prince Gold's eyes lightened. There is no good way, is there still a way? Ming nodded, the subordinates' methods are relatively stupid, and the success rate is very low. I'm afraid the prince will laugh at them. It's okay, let's hear it. Prince Goldman hastily said, there is a way better than nothing. Ming thought for a while and said, the original owner of the Palace of Eternal Life was the Son of Heaven, at least the strongest of the Eternal Life. The palace of his bank was naturally strong in defense and prohibition, but it was not something we could break. There is a flaw. Oh? What flaw? Not only Prince Gold, but the other princes also approached consciously or unintentionally, to hear Ming say what the flaw was. Ming said, the Palace of Eternal Life has ninefold prohibition. The ninefold prohibition echoes and merges with each other, which makes it difficult to crack. As long as one of them can be disturbed, the remaining eightfold prohibition will be affected. In that way, we will have the possibility. If you take advantage of it, you may break through the ban and enter the Palace of Eternal Life. Nonsense. Suddenly, Supreme Wind made a sarcasm. He was just driven out of the virtual world by Ming for a long time, and his hatred remained. Ming said lightly, if you have a better way, you can say it. Supreme Wind closed his mouth immediately. He could not see the doorway because he couldn't pass the run. But he didn't understand, it didn't mean that the people around him didn't understand either, so he winked at one person. This is a middle-aged man with 2 whiskers and a blue shirt, a paper fan in his hand. After receiving the supreme gesture of the wind, he smiled haha and said, yellow children, dare to talk about runes, ridiculous, really ridiculous. Then you smile slowly. Ming didn't get angry, and answered coldly. The middle-aged person continued, it's not wrong to say that there is a ninefold prohibition outside the longevity hall, but the so-called interference with one of them is impossible. The spirit of the wind came, and said, Ming, this Mr. Yuan is a master of runs. He did not dare to say in the Tianyuan continent, but if he was in the Qing dynasty, he would call him the second and no one would dare to call himself the first. Ming said scornfully, bragging also look at whom? Right, as far as I know, Yin and Yang teach a Yi innate. Is he better than Mr. Yi? When referring to Yi Xiantian, the face of the middle-aged man changed slightly, and then said, I have not discussed with Mr. Yi, but I want to be a little better than him. Ming snorted, do you want a face? Are you better than my teacher? Mr. Yi is your master. The middle-aged man was taken aback and looked up and down Ming, as if he could find something out of him. Yes, Ming said, you say that you are better than my teacher. My apprentice does not even have 1/10 of my teacher, but I really want to challenge you here. The middle-aged man laughed, do you want to challenge me? If your master is close, I will definitely be afraid, but if you are, hee. His words did not continue, but the meaning is obvious, you are not enough to compare with me. Ming frowned, what, are you afraid? The middle-aged person nodded, okay. You are an apprentice to Yi Xiantian. I must have some skill, so I will play with you. You can say how you want to compare. Ming glanced at the Palace of Longevity and said, I said that I could disturb the restraint of this Palace of Longevity, and you said no. So I ask, do you have a way to crack it? The middle-aged man scratched his beard and said, there is a way, but it will consume huge manpower and material resources, and it will take a long time. I am afraid that the long-term prohibition has not been broken, and this hall of longevity will disappear again. Ming scornfully said, "Your approach is the same as not saying." The middle-aged person shook his head, "Your approach is more inappropriate and not as reliable as mine." "Is it effective? You will know it when you try it." Ming said, "I will disrupt the prohibition in front of you, and give everyone a chance to enter the Palace of Eternal."
Sure. Here's a YouTube video outro.
Eternal life. If I do, it means that your knowledge is not as good as mine. Lost the test. The middle-aged man laughed and said, "Okay. If you really do, I confess. It's good to admit defeat." Ming sneered. "If you lose, worship me as a teacher and serve me from then on." As soon as the middle-aged man stayed, he took a deep look at Ming and said, "So, if you lose, the result is the same." Ming said, "That's right. If I lose, I'll be willing to follow you all my life and be a slave." The middle-aged man smiled and nodded, "Okay, that's it, the princes will testify." Although everyone thinks that Ming's method may not be effective, there is still a chance for him, so he is still looking forward to it. Ming also understood the psychology of the crowd, saying at this time, "Dear everyone, interference with the ban requires the construction of a large array. This will consume a lot of resources, and I would like to ask your princes to give their full support." Prince Gold said lightly, "The resources are easy to say, we are all princes, and the most important thing is resources. You say, what do you need?" Ming naturally did not give up the opportunity to slaughter people, and immediately said, "To build this array, you need 900 kilograms of Taoism to make a line, and 49 Tianzi to make a lineup. Requires 1 million pounds of earth bronze and 30,000 12-level runes." As soon as this remark came out, the princes' faces changed greatly, and the wind was extremely angry. "You are full of nonsense, you can arrange a large array, how can you use so many resource materials? Without saying anything else, that jade is extremely precious, 1 or 2 the price is more than 1 billion Dharma coins. Isn't $900 worth 16 trillion yuan? There are 12-level rune money. If you have 30,000, you know the value of 12 rune money." Mingzhen said, "Why, I didn't know, I had been covered a lot in the trial ground." Although he thought so, his face was indifferent, saying, "Without the resources, I said, I cannot build a large array." The crowd frowned. Ming said that these things have a total value of tens of trillions of Valkyrie coins. Prince Gold groaned for a moment and said, "Ming, can you save another province?" Ming shook his head, "Can't save." The 6 princes exchanged a look, and immediately began to discuss ways to bargain. After all, the resources must be paid by the 6 parties together. Jinyo's side could not stay out of the incident, and finally joined in, expressing his willingness to contribute. Ming had no time to listen to 7 groups of people pulling the skin. He walked around the Changsheng Hall to study his way of cracking. In fact, the large array he built really marveled at what he said. It was just that he didn't tell anyone that there was a hidden teleportation circle in this large array. Once the restraint is disturbed and loosened, he will enter the Changsheng Hall as soon as possible. As for the others, he was powerless. Of course, once things are revealed, he will be offended by the Prince of 6. But the Hall of Longevity was so precious that he didn't want to lose this opportunity, so even if it was a pit, he would go into one of them. The 5 dynasties had strong financial resources, and the Golden Guardian was a rich and powerful country. Even Jinyo was leaning on the source of the Shenhai Sea, so the 7 quartet quickly came up with a plan to convert all resources into coins. Share. During this time, people kept leaving to buy everything needed in Tianyuan. After a short period of time, some resources have been delivered, but unfortunately, the Palace of Eternal Life suddenly disappeared. It turned out that it only appeared for more than 1 hour, and it would disappear in a long time. Fortunately, everyone knows that it will definitely appear, so they continue to buy various things and collect 12-level rune money. Until the next day, everything Ming needed was collected and placed in front of him. Prince Gold looked at him, "Ming, everything you want is here. Whether you can succeed or not depends on you." Of course, Ming would not be full, saying, my subordinates have said it before, and they are not completely sure. Whether they can succeed or not depends on luck. Anyway. Prince Gold sighed. You do your best. The middle-aged man, who is a master of runes, chuckled, if you don't succeed, you will be my slave for life. You need to think clearly. Yaming smiled hee, you can rest assured that I will abide by the agreement and hope you will be the same. Natural. Middle-aged humane, yes, I haven't introduced myself yet, I'm Yu Xilan. Yaming ignored the name of the other party. Before that, he had been trying to further break through the 7 UN calculation. His 7 UN abacus array is already complete, and he can enter the 8 UN abacus array at any time. However, he had been worried that the physical body and Wuhan could not bear the 8 Ari abacus array, so he did not dare to take that step. However, he took the Dragon Buddha a while ago, his body and martial spirit were greatly improved, and his robes were well protected. Now there is nothing to prevent them, and he can break through at any time. With a change in his mind, the 7 elementary maths collapsed instantly, turned into countless mystic runes, restarted the arrangement and combination, and further transformed and sublimated. To an outsider, Yaming was standing still, his eyes closed, and he seemed to be thinking about the cracking method, so he held his breath and no one disturbed him. As everyone knows, at this moment he is promoting Tei Ishinshu. Tei Divine Art, after entering the 9 UN calculation, claims to be nothing. But before that, the 8-element arithmetic array was also remarkable. Yi Xiantian broke into the 8-element scoring array with the duality of martial arts. At this time, Yaming could only do it with only Wu Jun, which can be said to be very rare. Of course, this is also inseparable from his qualifications and luck. As the 8 UN calculation team was brewing, a mysterious breath permeated Yaming's spiritual world. Chaos abacus related to rune barring, inscriptional barring, causal rings, mathematical array, eye of hope, and celestial heart vibrate at the same time, creating an attraction between the 8-Ari calculus that is forming. Isn't the 8-Ari calculus array too strong? Want to devour chaos calculus? Yaming secretly surprised. He just thought that when the chaos calculus was about to be assimilated or swallowed up, the octet array was gradually formed. Numerous fine runes were densely combined to build a complex and incomparable octal array. 6 things, such as the ban of Mingwen, were also detached from the martial arts souls, and then sucked into the 8-element calculation array. The first to fall into the arithmetic matrix was the arithmetic matrix, which was decomposed in an instant, then recombined and evolved. When it was formed again, it had become an octal arithmetic matrix. This is not over yet, and the arithmetic matrix has further changed, and it has finally evolved into a supernatural power forbidden. Baiming Dao, congratulations to the master, you can deduct magical powers in advance. Yaming understands that generally, only at the level of martial arts can the martial arts and martial arts techniques be refined, so martial arts and martial arts have the most magical powers and the most powerful. Yaming possessed this method because he had an 8-element arithmetic array. Moreover, the 8-element arithmetic array was obviously unscrupulous, and the chaos arithmetic was refined into the supernatural power seeds, and since then, it has to be suppressed. Originally, Yaming's Tei Divine Art and Chaos Arithmetic were on par with each other, but now the 8 UN Arithmetic is 10%, Tei Divine Art immediately crushes the opponent, and it is necessary to refine it into a magical power, so as to completely control it. Used. Yaming is certainly happy with this change. With the addition of Chaos Arithmetic, Tei Divine Art will further transform and become stronger. Once this supernatural power is activated, it will make my computing power unparalleled. Call it a supernatural power. Yaming told Baiming Dao, this supernatural power is controlled and urged by the 8-element arithmetic. Words are of little use. As it is being said, Tianxinzi was also sucked into it, and also advanced to the 9th level, and then transformed into a set of supernatural powers. It didn't take long for Yaming to know the mystery of this supernatural power, saying, once this supernatural power is displayed, it can communicate the will of God and be carried by the sky, which is not trivial. In that case, it is called reliance on supernatural power. Later, the rune ban, the inscription ban, the cause and effect ring, and the Eyes of Hope all joined in, all of which mentioned the ban of 360, which was the most important one. After that, it was transformed into rune magical power, inscriptional magical power, causal magical power, and hopeful power. These magical powers can be used both inside the octal array and by Yeming. For example, the magic of magical arrays, once Yeming urges them, they can form a large array instantly, or they can be made into runes. The magical patterns of magical lines can also succeed the inscriptions instantly. The ring of cause and effect can see through the cause and effect in one fell swoop. Kikitong can be a lucky man. All in all, the 6 chapters of Chaos Arithmetic have become vassals of Tei Divine Art. With the funding of Chaos Abacus, the calculation power of the 8-element abacus array has been greatly improved, and it has suddenly reached Xiao Cheng. If you go down, you will be successful. Yeming is very satisfied with this result. With this small Cheng Baun array, he is more sure to break the prohibition of Cheng Sheng Hall. This treatment, for several hours, Yeming suddenly opened his eyes. The Prince Gold asked immediately, "Yeming, are you ready? All the things you want are here, and the longevity hall will soon appear." Yeming nodded. "Prince, rest assured, I'm ready." "Okay. It's up to you. Once this is done, Prince Ben will do something for you," Prince Gold said. Sure enough, the longevity hall appeared in another place, and everyone rushed to the scene as soon as possible. Before the Prince of Gold urged, Yeming began to arrange a large array around the hall. Deyu, Tianzu, and Fuqian were heavily used by him. The emergence of the 8-element arithmetic array gave him a deeper understanding of the method of array formation. Wherever he went, the spirit copper melted into the juice, and he engraved a large array of lines on the ground by himself. The speed of the array and the skill of the method made the eyes of the Xylan straight. As a master of matrix formations, he has never seen such a sophisticated and immaculate array of means in his whole life. How did he do it? The precious Tao jade was originally a natural jade. Yeming waved his sleeves and flicked the inscriptions, and the jade stones were instantly turned into inscription jade, which became the hub of the large array. Similarly, Tianzu was also inserted into the ground one by one, with exquisite runes inscribed on it. In this way, Yeming walked in a circle, and the large array was laid, perfectly natural and perfect. Then, in the incredible eyes of everyone, he spilled 10,000 12-level runes. And his people are still in the moment, smiling. As soon as Fu Qian hit the ground, Deyu and Tianzu suddenly shined brightly. In an instant, at least 10,000 12-level talisman money was ignited. A 12-level rune of money can injure an ordinary warrior under an all-out outbreak, so how powerful is a 10,000 outbreak at the same time? An overwhelming force field was formed, and silently invaded the restraint of the Palace of Longevity. However, the restraint of the Palace of Eternal Life is too powerful, such an exquisite array, such a terrifying force field, but it has only slightly shifted and disordered its operation, thus exposing a line of gap. Although the gap appeared for a very short time, this was enough for Yeming. He immediately used the magical power of the dragon tribe to turn it into a ray of light, and instantly passed through the gap and entered the Changsheng Hall. At the same time, due to the great power of 10,000 runes, Deoyu and Tianzu did not hold on for too long and exploded, leaving only one wolf. "What about people?" Prince Gold cried, and everyone started looking around, but where was Yeming? "We won't be fooled by that kid, right?" Someone asked resentfully. As soon as this statement was made, everyone's face was hard to look at. In order to set up this big team, they put down their blood, but in the end they could not find anything. How can this tone be tolerated? What exactly happened is unknown. Prince Ho appeared to be more stable and asked the Yu Xylan, "Mr. Yu should see it." Yu Xylan was shocked by Yeming's exquisite arraying methods. In a loss, he did not notice how Yeming disappeared. However, after all, he was an expert. After thinking about it, he analyzed, as expected, Yeming has already entered the Palace of Eternal Life. What? All the princes blew their hair together, really being played by that kid? Damn it! Prince Ben is going to kill people. Crown Prince Huang gritted his teeth, and Yeming, as the Golden Guard, dared to treat him, which he couldn't bear. Entering the Temple of Eternal Life, he may not be able to come out alive. Prince Qinglong said lightly, it is better to live out, he can get out of our palms as soon as a grassroots. The princes nodded one after another. They represented the most powerful force in the Tianyuan continent. Regardless of Yeming's genius, they could not be their opponents. Even if they got any benefits from the Palace of Longevity, they still had to spit out obediently. Tianyuan continent has no place for him, and he will hide. Yeming didn't think about it that much at the moment. The will of heaven told him that the Palace of Heavenly Sun was no small matter, and he would naturally enter at any cost. Fortunately, he succeeded and entered the Hall of Longevity at the last moment. The gate of the Palace of Eternal Life was still closed, but there was no restraint between him and the gate, so he tried to push the gate open. When he pressed his hand on the huge door of the temple, he immediately felt a kind of heaviness, as if this was not a door, but a mountain. His strength has already exceeded 1 billion kilograms, but he still feels powerless at this moment. At this moment he exhaled and pushed with all his strength, and unexpectedly, the gate was motionless. Come again. He urged secret of violence, a surge in strength, and shot twice. Boom. The ground shook, and the temple door finally moved, and a seam slowly flashed. Yeming tried to push again, and the door was stuck again. Fortunately, a gap was enough for him. He turned it into a light smoke and slipped in through the door slit. As soon as his men entered, the door closed automatically, tightly. In the hall, it is like another world. When you step into it, you will reach another time and space. High in the sky, the sun is shining, and the white clouds are blossoming. Yeming looked around and found that there were no buildings around except the natural landscape. He immediately released the treasure hunt rat and said, "Little treasure, it's up to you." The treasure hunter's little nose was drawn, and suddenly his head shrank, and he looked very frightened, and then he went back again. Yeming asked strangely, "What happened to Xiaobao? Is it dangerous?" Roar. At this moment, a roar came, and saw a dark shadow, faster than light, carrying a huge force like a hill, and hit him at once. If he is not physically strong, and Ruyi robe protects himself, then he must be knocked apart. He felt a stinking wind blow on his face, and seemed to be still wet with saliva. Yeming was startled, struggling hard, but his weight was getting heavier and he couldn't breathe. He knew the comber's strength, at least crushed him in strength, so he could only give up resistance. After all, the opponent did not have any further harm. When he finally opened his eyes, he looked intently, and saw a dog larger than a calf, staring coldly at him. The dog, with bright fur and fangs, was staring at him fiercely. The dog's palm is fleshy, fat, and thick. It looks like a lion's paw, not a dog. Seeing that the other party was a dog, Yeming was relieved. He grinned and said, "Brother, yourself." The dog shouted a howl, apparently did not consider him as his own. Yeming shrugged helplessly and said, "I'm here to find the Son of Heaven." The dog froze and sent a divine thought to Yeming, "Do you know my master?" Yeming's heart is shocking. Gu Tianting's emperor is its master? Isn't it an old antique that lives for hundreds of thousands of years? He suddenly felt scalp and looked at the dog like a monster. The dog continued to question, say, "Yeming, I don't know Tianzi. As far as I know, Tianzi is an ancient man." Ancient man? What nonsense, I only slept, and the master became an ancient man. The dog said unhappy. Slept? Yeming asked, "How long have you slept?" The dog froze, and he tilted his head and thought, "I don't know. It may be 3 days or 3 years. Is it possible to be 300,000 years? 500,000 years?" Yeming thought of a possibility and asked. The dog trembled and murmured, "I was greedy and drank the master's eternal god brew, and then ran into Longdi's bed to sleep without waking up. Is this sleep hundreds of thousands of years?" Then it stomped on Yaming's chest with excitement. Tell me, what happened over the years? Yaming was screamed repeatedly, almost out of breath, and said with a bitter smile, don't step on, I said. So from the time of the collapse of the Ziwi Yuan continent, talking about the eras of the Tian Yuan continent, and the age of the ancient heaven. Finally, it talked about the coexistence of the god of Era, the era of the 5 elements, and the 4 gods of the current 5 dynasties. The dog listened for a while, and then wailed and wept loudly. Yaming was shocked. He had never seen a dog cry, and he cried so much. The main thing is, cry when you cry. Can you lift your feet first? I feel like I will be trampled to death. But after all, he didn't say anything, instead he reached out and patted his fat dog paw, comforting him, your sleep is not necessarily a bad thing, otherwise you would have become dust like Tianzi. Master. I have failed to follow your southern and northern battles, and I have failed to protect your safety. I regret it. The dog slammed heavily on the ground, but it seemed that it was Yaming lying on the ground. Yaming's eyeballs were about to stare out, and he urged Ruyi's robe to protect his body, otherwise, the dog had to be shot dead. I saw him outside, the heavy runes collapsed and then reorganized, forcibly resisting the dog's attack. Finally vented, the dog asked with tears in his eyes, is my master really gone? Heavenly, shouldn't he have been a god-level powerhouse yet? Yaming asked carefully, if human beings were born in that year, mankind would already have entered a super civilization, and it would not be delayed until now. The dog shook his head, the master was only the 8th state of longevity at the beginning. But the master's qualifications are shocking. As long as he is given enough time, he will definitely become the of God. Unfortunately, it is a pity that he did not persist to the end. It cried sadly again. Yaming comforted, if you die, you cannot be resurrected. Fortunately, you are still alive. I'm alive and good? The master is dead, and I don't want to live. The dog jumped up and hit a mountain not far away. It was too fast, Yaming had no chance to stop it. I only heard a loud noise, the mountain peaks collapsed, the ground was shaking, the rocks were flying, and the dust was rising. When everything calmed down, a dog emerged from the gravel. The mountain is broken, it has nothing at all. Yaming rolled his eyes and said, your cultivation is so high that suicide is useless. If you really want to die, I have poison on my body. Would you like to try? The dog stared at him fiercely, and said, Hellsome guy, what are you doing in the Palace of Longevity? Are you trying to steal my master's stuff? I'll kill you. Yaming quickly asked, do you know how your master died? The rushing black dog stopped suddenly and asked rhetorically, who knows who killed my master? I don't know. However, Gu Tianting collapsed immediately. There must be a major reason for this. Tianzi is a strong man in the longevity realm. He must live at least hundreds of thousands of years. His death must have a reason. Do you want to find out truth, don't want to avenge your emperor? Yaming asked in a loud voice. Yes, I want revenge. The dog looked fiercely. I must find out the real murderer. Yaming said, I can help you. After all, you are not human and it is not convenient to walk in the world. The dog took a deep look at Yaming and said, since this is the case, I will not bite you for now. Now tell me your name. My name is Yaming. Yaming said, Tian Yuan Mainland Martial Arts. The dog nodded, your qualifications are good, but you are not much worse than your master. Speaking of which, it suddenly widened his eyes, turning around and around Yaming. Yaming was dizzy and asked, hey, you still want to bite me? The dog with an incredible expression on his face exclaimed, why is your qualification so good? It's hardly under my master. You have to know that my master is a top-quality Dharma. Although you are not a Dharma, you have great potential to achieve the Dharma. Just around the corner. Above the divine body, it is called the Tao body, and this constitution can even be exchanged for a merit ring. However, Yaming has not failed to do so. At first he didn't have that much money and couldn't afford it. Later, he got a deeper understanding of his physique and realized that the Taoism he exchanged was far less precious than his own promotion. and he is confident that it won't be long before he can ascend to the Tao. Thank you for the compliment, Ye Ming said, not knowing what the dog was thinking. You're welcome. The dog shook his head. Your qualifications are so good, as long as you cultivate for a period of time, maybe you can achieve something, and even eventually complete the unfinished will of the master. In that case, you will be more suicidal than me. More valuable. Ye Ming was interested. What is your master's legacy? Achieve the Lord God, unite the human race, and make the martial arts civilization a super civilization. Da Go said, this road is too difficult. The emperor did not do it, and the master did not do it. As for you, the success rate is very small, but I still willing to try. The dog's expression is very vicissitudes and desolate. It doesn't look like a dog, but looks like an old man who has lived for a long time. Cultivate me. Ye Ming frowned. Yes, said the dog, I want you to be a strong man like your master, and then reopen the heavens. Achieve the Lord God. Ye Ming smiled bitterly, is it so easy to build a heavenly court? The heavenly court has not fallen behind, many civilizations have ruled the heavenly world, and the civilization of the immortal, the Buddhist, etc. has not succeeded. The dog said lightly, at the beginning, the master told me that martial arts civilization is the most suitable civilization for the rise of human race, but its level is too low. As long as it is given time, martial arts civilization will definitely surpass all civilizations. The reason is very simple, the goal of martial arts civilization is to fight, and if the human race wants to rise, it is also fighting. Ye Ming thought that this dog was very familiar with the Changsheng Temple. Regardless of whether his idea was a play, he agreed first and then said immediately, you want to train me naturally, I want to know if there are other requirements. Before you become the Tao and step into Valkyrie, I won't ask too much. Big Black Dog said, after all, you are not a Valkyrie, you are nothing, it is difficult to be a big thing. Ye Ming disagreed. Even today, he would not be frightened of the warrior, and he really did not take the warrior seriously. The dog continued, in the future, you will be my new owner of the Black Bull. With that said, the dog actually fell to his knees on the front legs, saluting Ye Ming. Ye Ming was taken aback, and quickly said, don't be so polite. You are the master, it is right to bow down to worship you. The dog had a serious face. The Hall of Longevity is the foundation of the master. It has the 24th realm of the 3 palaces and the 9th hospital. I currently have only one of the 24 realms. Book Mountain Realm. Ye Ming's heart shook, what's in the 24th realm of the 3rd palace and the 9th hospital? I don't know, I haven't been there. The dog and Black domineering, I only know that the 24 realms represent 24 civilizations. For example, this Book Mountain Realm represents the civilization of Confucianism. Heavenly Emperor originally wanted to cultivate his master. After spending half of his life, he collected the most powerful classics of 24 human civilizations and created the 24 realms. At first, the master practiced in the 24 realms in order, and finally went to the 9th courtyard and then the 3rd house. TND did so. I want to train my master to be beyond him, the Lord God. Unfortunately, he did not succeed in the end. Ye Ming, is the place where we are now Shu Shanjing? Of course not. This is the periphery of the Palace of Eternal Life. He Beidao said, if you want to enter the Book Mountain Realm, I must open the authority. Ye Ming hurriedly asked, so, can you take me to Shushan? Hiba shook his head, although I feel that you have good potential, after all, you are only a body, not a Tao body. It is not too late to see me after you have achieved the Tao body. At that time, I will take you into the Book Mountain Realm. If the study is completed successfully in Shushan, other jurisdictions will be gradually opened. After speaking, Hiba shot in Ye Ming's head, and an extremely complicated prohibition appeared in his spiritual world. He was taken aback, what did you do to me? A small restraint. Once you enter the Ascension body, it will take you to the Temple of Eternal Life. He Beidao said, now you can leave. The next moment, Ye Ming felt the sky spin, and after his feet landed, he appeared in the virtual heaven. There is no one around, sigh, Obviously this place is not where the longevity hall was before, otherwise he has to be torn by Prince Gold's team. I ran for nothing, and there was no gain at all. He shook his head and immediately left the virtual world. At the same time, Yaming's body had been transferred out of the inn by Zhang Shui, and they were on their way to the White Tiger dynasty. When Yaming woke up, he felt a soft fragrant body limping fast behind him. He suddenly asked with a weapon, "Why go?" Seeing him wake up, Zhang Shui stopped suddenly, and said angrily, "You still said? After you have been in the virtual world for so long, I'm almost worried about death. And after the wind came back, I was very anxious, I was afraid it's bad for your body, so take the opportunity to escape with you." Yaming looked at the direction and laughed, "You are going to the White Tiger dynasty, you want to see the marriage lake. Naturally, this is what you promised me, and you must accompany me." Zhang Shui waved a powder fist threat, "Don't even think about getting an account." "How come?" Yaming quickly said, "I always believe in words." At this moment, the two were at the border of the White Tiger dynasty. The site was gradually desolate, and towns began to appear. The marriage lake is located in the west of the White Tiger dynasty, and they have to cross more than half of the dynasty's territory to reach it. After walking for a while, Zhang Shui was a little tired and decided to rest in a small town in front. This small town has a radius of 300 miles and a population of nearly 10 million. It belongs to a wasteland. After entering the city, the two stayed in an inn. In the afternoon, in order to understand the local customs, the two went to the restaurant on the first floor for dinner. The restaurant is lively, with people coming and going, locals and passers-by. Some locals who are familiar with each other eat and chat in groups. "I heard that Sui Heman will come out to kill and collect blood again. Alas, for hundreds of years, if it wasn't for the existence of Sui Heman, we would have developed Bailucheng into a big city." Someone said with emotion. "Be quiet, don't let the people at Blood River Gate hear you, otherwise you won't be safe." Someone rebuked, "Moreover, Blood River Gate generally only deals with people who pass by. What matters to us is that you care nothing." "Why doesn't it matter to us? Blood River Gate keeps it secret, but many outsiders know it. They would rather detour than pass through our White Deer City. After that, no one will come in the end. At that time, where do you think Sui Heman is looking for human blood? Do we still have to do something to our locals? Well, how can you manage so much? Even if you start, you will start in a rural town." Someone said coldly, "At that time, we will be afraid of dying long ago, what are we afraid of?" Yaming displayed his ears, and when he heard such a conversation, he frowned slightly. This White Tiger dynasty still has such an evil sect? He immediately told Zhang Shui, "It's uneasy here, and we'll be on the road after eating." Zhang Shui naturally listened to him, and nodded gently. After dinner, the two left without even leaving the room. Just a few steps, a companion came forward, all wearing blood-colored tights, with swords hanging from their waists. Their eyes were vicious. The two sides walked face to face, and when they were more than 10 steps away, the other one asked, "Are you passing by?" Yaming said indifferently, "Yes, what is it?" The man didn't answer, and waved his hand, saying, "Take them down, and finally live together today." In a hurry, 4 blood-covered men rushed over and picked up Yaming and Zhang Shui. The two of them calmed down and looked no different from ordinary people. It is also the blindness of this group of people, the bad luck is taking the lead, and it is bad for anyone, but they have to come and provoke them. Yaming didn't move, the invisible sword flickered into a thin skein of silk. The 4 people who wanted to take them broke their hands and wrists, and 8 palms fell to the ground. Fingers are still moving. The next moment, 4 people screamed in armless arms. The blood-stained man who gave the order knew that when he met a powerful character, he immediately squeezed a charm, and it seemed that he had called for reinforcements. Yaming sneered, and said, "This is what you asked for. Don't blame me for being black-handed." The man shouted at Yaming and shouted, "Boy, don't be crazy, do you know who our master is? His old man is Wu Sheng, and he can kill you with one finger. If you are clever, you will be arrested immediately, otherwise Tian Wang Laozi will can't save you. Wu Sheng. Ye Ming nodded. Okay, I'm waiting for him. Without waiting to finish, the two martial kings drove down and down. The two Wujans, a man and a woman, are all middle-aged. The man was born black and ugly, with a short body, and he wore a large purple gold robe. The female martial artist was quite normal, but she was a lot of old and still smeared with fat, making people look tired. Oh, it turns out to be two little dolls. The male Wujun grinned, and the girl doll is so beautiful, San Niang, this girl belongs to me. The female warrior named San Niang smiled and looked at Ye Ming and said, this younger brother is a handsome boy, so I'll take care of it. Ye Ming took out the dragon hammer and said lightly, if you can pick me a hammer, I will spare you not to die. Hee hee. The male Wujun laughed, I haven't seen such an arrogant kid for many years. Before he laughed at him, Ye Ming moved. The dragon hammer ripped open the air, and the space was distorted and almost collapsed, and it blasted in front of the other side immensely. Blood River Fist, broken. The male Wujun sang loudly, a huge fist burst out from him, and hit the dragon hammer directly. Boom! With a loud noise, the so-called Blood River Shenquan exploded, but the dragon hammer was unhindered and contacted the male Wujun's head intimately. Bat! With a sound, the male Wujun was smashed into mud. Ye Ming is the master of the hegemony on the trial road. How is the opponent of the Wild Road martial arts opponent? Not to mention that this kind of martial arts sent out, even the martial arts monarchs of the 9 sacred places and the 4 gods, Ye Ming does not need to look in his eyes, he can lay them down with one stroke. You. The female martial artist paused, shocked, you actually killed him. Again Ye Ming stared at the female Wujun and said, you want to die? Want to live. The female Wujun was frightened, and Ye Ming killed a companion who was stronger than her with a hammer, which made her completely give up the resistance and fell to her knees with a splash. Ye Ming replied coldly, I have a few questions, you better answer honestly. Yes, I must answer honestly. Female Wujun said repeatedly. Why does Blood River Gate collect blood? He asked. Wu Wujun said, this is to start from the origin of Blood River Gate. The founder of Blood River Gate was an ordinary mountain citizen. By chance, he fell into the mountain stream. In that mountain stream, there is a passageway that connects the blood under the ground. River. What the is blood? Ye Ming asked curiously. Later, people learned that a blood demon had been suppressed under that mountain shack. The blood demon's strength should be very strong and belong to the strongman of the longevity. After the blood demon was suppressed, it was transformed into blood after being crushed. River. The blood in the blood river contains the ancient blood memory. Later, the mountain people drank the blood of the blood river, and began to practice on the road, created the blood river magic, and established the blood river gate. Female Wujun Road. Cultivation of blood river power requires blood, especially the blood of practitioners. Only in this way can we continue to make progress. However, with the increase in the number of blood river gates, the amount of blood is increasing, which forces us to continue to passers-by are passing to meet demand. Hearing this, Ye Ming thought of the blood bat demon he encountered before, and felt that both should be pedigree heritage, and asked, have there been a bat demon in the blood river gate? Female Wujun nodded, my ancestor had raised several pets in the past, and one of them was a bat demon. Old man? Ye Ming asked. Is the ancestor of the blood river, the original mountain citizen? The female Wujun said, he is still alive now, but he is retreating from behind the scenes to concentrate on cultivation, and does not ask questions about the door. What about the blood ancestor Xiu Xiu? Ye Ming warned. The ancestor is the cultivation of Facian and 5 realms, and his strength is unfathomable. The female Wujun said, I'm telling the truth, please don't kill me. Hearing that the other party is a god-level powerhouse, Ye Ming has lost his interest, but he has no time to fight with the gods, but it is the best policy. However, the next sentence of New Wujun made him change his mind. By the way, the blood ancestors have been cultivating blood babies in the blood river for nearly a century, and it seems to be about to succeed. Blood baby? What is that? Ye Ming asked curiously. Blood babies are the life conceived by the blood river. Once born, they can have a godlike realm. Female Wujun said, blood babies have amazing qualifications. Once they grow up, they will become the ancestors' left arm and right arm. Ye Ming had questions. The blood river is full of blood, why don't you drink it directly, but instead take blood for consumption? The female Wujun sighed, the ancestors never allowed us to enter the blood river, because once we drink the water of the blood river, we can get the memory of the blood race. In this way, we may surpass him. After all, the ancestor was only one ordinary mountain people, with limited qualifications, can easily be surpassed. Ye Ming nodded, probably understood, and said, do you know the entrance to the blood river? The female Wujun hesitated for a while, and said, the ancestors of blood river laid the blood river array at the entrance. You cannot enter. You don't need to worry about this, just tell me the location. Ye Ming said coldly. The female Wujun nodded again and again, yes, the entrance of the blood river is under the mountain stream opposite the Amethyst Mountain to the west. Resolve these people first, and you will lead the way. Ye Ming said lightly. The female prince opened his mouth and spit, and a beam of blood flew out. The remaining blood-stained people were smashed by the blood, and immediately died of anger and turned into a dead body. After doing this, the female Wujun led the way in front of Amethyst Mountain. It's less than 1,000 miles away. Ye Ming came to the mountain stream, looked at the mountain stream filled with blood mist, and asked, below is the blood river array. Female Wujun nodded, that's right. This time, the mighty force was great. A Valkyrie came to explore and was hanged shortly after entering. Ye Ming nodded, and suddenly reached out a bunch, the female Wujun fell towards the mountain. She screamed again and again, trying to fly up, but was bound by Ye Ming's absolute power, she could only fall down with her eyes open. When she fell a dozen feet, there was a heavy blood bloom, mixed with the sword Guangming. Puff! The female Wujun strangled into a blood mist in an instant, and the dead could not die. For this kind of demon head, Ye Ming has no pity and kills the most directly. Moreover, he also wanted to take a look at the operating law of the blood river array. It's a large array of band at the mid-thousands level, and there are at least 30 heavy bands. No wonder it can trap and kill Valkyrie. Ye Ming muttered, thinking about the way to crack. Zhang Shui asked, is there a way? Ye Ming shook his head, I'm not strong enough, and I need someone to help. After that, he urged the news sign. After a while, the two light rays descended from the sky, it was Xiao Qiang and Ji Rugzhu. The two had followed in secret and did not show up, at this time Ye Ming called and immediately appeared. Zhang Shui looked at them curiously, and said, okay, you still have big masters around you. No wonder you are so calm and not afraid to provoke right and wrong. Ye Ming smiled and said, she is Ji Rugzhu, he is Xiao Qiang, and he is my follower. Zhang Shui laughed, you really should have a few decent followers, like my emperor brothers, and each of them has a Valkyrie-level follower. Ji Rugzhu glanced at Zhang Shui and said, it looks good. Although it doesn't deserve my young master, it can barely be used. Zhang Shui almost jumped up, what is barely usable? Was her grandiose princess used? At a glance, Ye Ming yelled, what are you talking about like snow? Ji Rugzhu smiled he and said, the young master is not too young, and he has become a martial artist. There is no need to retain the virginity. It is time to marry a few wives and concubines. Ye Ming was speechless for a while. He said fiercely, you don't need to worry about this kind of thing, and now I've broken this battle. Ji Rugzhu glanced towards the mountain, disapproving authentically, it's not difficult to break up. Ye Ming, you can't break it, I'll point you to the way to break the line. Then I mentioned 3 flaws in the blood river array. Ji Rugzhu laughed after hearing, Master said this blood river array is really rubbish. After speaking, she reached out a finger, an array of golden light broke into the mountain stream. Then blood gas surged, and a blood gas vortex slowly formed. Ye Ming told Xiao Qiang, you protect Zhang Shui well, and Snow will follow me. After that, the master and servant jumped into the vortex and disappeared. Zhang Shui also wanted to follow, but was stopped by Xiao Qiang. Snow Princess, listen to my master, let's wait outside. You can rest assured, Ji girl is terrible, no one has hurt her master. Zhang Xueqi said, Ji Rugzhu's cultivation seems to be very high, is it the heaven and the 9 realms? Xiao Qiang poked his lips, I'm Facian urging, but neither is fart in front of her. According to my inference, she should be a character in Chang Shenjing. Zhang Shui took a breath, long life? Couldn't she be compared to the top 10 in the Tianyuan list? But why should such a person follow Yeming, who is unknown, and have thoughts about him? Yeming didn't know what Zhang Shui was thinking wildly. Soon after entering the vortex of blood, he and Ji Rugzhu appeared below the mountain stream. A torrential river flows through it, and on both sides of the mountain wall, there is a half-human cave, presumably the entrance to the blood river. Go! He beckoned, and he got into the cave first. After flying for a quarter of an hour in the cave, he went deeper and deeper into the ground. After feeling at least hundreds of miles down, blood began to blow in front of him. The blood was so strange that Yeming took a breath and felt extremely uncomfortable. It's coming, he said. Ji Rugzhu immediately blocked in front of Yeming and led her instead. It didn't take long before I entered a huge underground cave where the blood was so strong that I could barely reach my fingers. Just in this huge cave, a blood river flows quietly, about 10 miles wide, and ends long. This is the blood river. Yeming came to the river curiously, and stretched out his blood. This blood water is not fishy, and it is not thick, just like clear water. Ji Rugzhu's eyes flashed a cold flash, and said, Master, this blood river must have been formed by the big devil, and there must have been a powerful blood river creature. These creatures can be regarded as the continuation of the blood demon life. Yeming nodded, the reason I came here is to think of this. Since blood river can conceive a blood baby, it will also conceive other creatures. Once these creatures are allowed to walk through the bleeding river, it will definitely cause a storm. How many innocent people are killed? Ji Rugzhu laughed, Master is kind and compassionate, other monks care about ordinary people's lives. I'm just acting on my heart, and I can't talk about compassion. Yeming said lightly. In this world, good and evil are difficult to define. Everyone has a different position and the distinction between good and evil is different. As they talked, they walked along the blood river. After walking for a while, a lot of monsters burst out in the blood river. These monsters are like babies, but with 2 wings on their backs and no arms, they are 2 sharp spikes. Their teeth are fine and sharp, and their eyes are purple. Yeming didn't move. As soon as Ji Rugzhu waved his sleeves, these monsters exploded and died in the water or on the shore. These monsters have at least the strength of Wu Zong. Yeming frowned. It should be only a low-level monster. Unfortunately, my demon monster is not present, otherwise I can report a lot. Ji Rugzhu thought for a while and said, the young master can actually accept the memory of the blood river. Although the practice of the blood tribe is different, it also has its merits. No difference. Yemingji, you want me to practice the blood tribe? There is no need to cultivate, it can make the young master touch the class bypass and gain something. Ji Rugzhu said, the power in the human race is mostly involved in the field, and will not stick to the right path. Yeming thought about it and said, you're right. After that, he took a sip of blood and swallowed it. The blood and water had no taste. After entering the abdomen, it was transformed into countless subtle energies, arranged and combined into evil runes, and entered his spiritual world. 8 UN calculation, calculate. The 8-element arithmetic matrix immediately started to operate, and began to analyze the memory inheritance of these blood races. How powerful this array is, with a little movement, Yeming watched the fire. However, the amount of information is too limited, and after a short calculation, it stagnates. He opened his eyes and said, as Snow, I need more pure blood. Ji Rugzhu nodded, she glanced at the blood river, then reached out and grabbed. 1,000 miles away, a blood-colored mermaid holding a sword exploded, and its heart blood condensed into the size of a fist, and flew towards Yeming. This is the Blood River Mermaid, at least Wushan level realm, was killed immediately. Yeming swallowed the mermaid's heart blood, massive memory information appeared, and the 8-element arithmetic array reoperated. After a moment, he opened his eyes and said, "It seems that different beings have absorbed different blood race information, and you should catch more different types of blood demon." Ji Rugzhu grabbed with both hands at will, all kinds of blood river creatures exploded, condensed into large or small heart blood, and flew towards him. Every time Yeming swallowed a kind of heart blood, he inherited more blood. Gradually, he was surrounded by a layer of flesh and fell into deep fixation. Just then, in the blood river 3,000 miles away, an old man was sitting in a void, and the surrounding blood was converging to his side, absorbed by the 48,000 pores in his body. Some creatures close to him exploded directly, absorbed into blood mist. Suddenly, the old man opened his eyes, exasperated, and shouted, "Who is good at breaking into the blood?" When the figure flashed, Ji Rugzhu somehow crossed a distance of 3,000 miles and appeared in front of him. The Blood River ancestor was taken aback. He was only as good as fought Yenjing, no matter how strong he was, facing a deep fear of Ji Rugzhu. "Who are you?" she asked alertly, urging Blood River magic. Ji Rugzhu looked at her and said, "Taking your hard work will save the master a lot of time." "What?" The old man paused. "I am the blood ancestor, who are you?" Ji Rugzhu said indifferently, "Speaking of which, the old lady was dedicated to killing you monsters." Then, she was full of light, and a layer of holy light shined in all directions. The ancestors of the Blood River were illuminated by this light, and the black smoke suddenly burst. Even the blood of the Blood River boiled suddenly, it seemed that it couldn't bear the light. Sacred, boom! A force exploded from the inside out, and the powerful Blood River ancestor burst into blood mist. The blood mist condensed into a drop of blood, and floated to Ji Rugzhu's hands. She stared at the blood and said, "If those guys knew I was alive, how would they feel?" Soon, Yeming refined the blood of the Blood River ancestor, and the vast information was absorbed by him. This Blood River ancestor absorbed the energy of Blood River all year round, and devoured all kinds of Blood River creatures. The blood information contained in his blood is almost complete. However, Yeming felt that it still lacked. 3 days later, he opened his eyes and said, "As snow, I feel this Blood River seems incomplete." Of course it is incomplete, most of it is still deeper and underground, being suppressed by the big battle. Ji Rugzhu said. "What?" Yeming was taken aback. "There is still underground." "Yes, the Blood River above is just the tip of the iceberg. The real Blood River is simply the ocean, which is more than 10,000 times wider than this. But the master is no longer necessary, I will come and go." After that, she disappeared. Yeming shrugged helplessly, and even she felt Ji Rugzhu mysterious. But it is certain that she was at least very friendly to him, although this kind of friendship came somehow. About a day later, Ji Rugzhu appeared again. She looked very tired and pale as paper. Yeming was startled and asked quickly, "Wounded?" Ji Rugzhu shook her head, "I underestimated the monsters below, and actually there was a longevity series, and I was almost trapped." After that, he gave Yeming a group of crystal blood. This is the true blood lineage. Yeming took the blood group, his heart shook, and said, "Thank you." Ji Rugzhu smiled slightly, "The young master is safer on the top. I consume too much and I have to find a place to rest. Yeming, when will I be back?" 1 year is short and 3 years is long. Ji Rugzhu said. Yeming, everything is careful. After that, she handed over the Trinity lens to her. "You are careful, use this in case you encounter an enemy." Ji Rugzhu didn't refuse, she smiled, "Master, I'm leaving now." The next moment, Ji Rugzhu appeared in a mysterious space. As soon as her person appeared, she spit out black blood, half of her face became as dark as ink, and her face smiled bitterly. "I didn't expect that there would be such monsters in Blood River, ignorant Blood River ancestors. What kind of river the blood demon corpse turns into, the old troll is asleep at the bottom. Its strength, I am afraid that it is not under the guts, but also in the longevity of 9 realms. Fortunately, it is still asleep, otherwise I can't come back alive. Alas, I hope the young master can rise up and suppress these monsters as soon as possible. She finished, immediately sat down and healed himself. Yaming didn't know that Ji Rugjia was seriously injured, and he didn't know that a troll was asleep in the deep river of blood. He tried his best to calculate the blood release information. After more than 3 months, he woke up from the set. The heritage of the blood race is unfathomable. Unfortunately, this practice often produces powerful monsters that are not human, and makes people lose themselves. This is not progress, but a retrogression. He shook his head and completely lost the practice of the blood race. Interest of. In his view, the civilization of blood can only be used as a reference and cannot be copied. Of course, the gains this time are still huge. The so-called stones of other mountains can attack jade, and the cultivation method of the blood race has greatly inspired him. Zhang Shui should be in a hurry, it's time to go back. He immediately blew the bleeding river and returned to the mountain stream. There was no one above the mountain stream, and there was no shadow of Xiao Qiang or Zhang Shui. What about people? He was startled, looked around, but found nothing. What could have happened? He was anxious inside. Soon, he found that a mountain not far away collapsed, and the surrounding peaks were also destroyed by forests and rocks. Obviously someone experienced a fierce fight here. Xiao Qiang. He urged the message sign to communicate with Xiao Qiang. Soon, a faint voice sounded, "Master, I was seriously injured and couldn't go." Yaming's heart lifted. Who hurt you? Where is Zhang Shui? The people of the White Tiger Dynasty, 3 deities and 4 martial arts, are very strong and have artifacts in their hands. They seemed to recognize Zhang Shui's identity, met with a heavy hand and injured me, and then carried Zhang Shui away. People of the White Tiger Dynasty. Yaming frowned. Is it the royal family? Should be. Xiao Qiang said, one of them claimed to be prince, and said that once he finds his master, he will definitely make you unable to survive and death. Prince Bai Hu? Yaming smiled. Hey, it turned out to be him. Presumably it was Supreme Wind that told him about Zhang Shui and me. But how did he find this place? Xiao Qiang, do NT the master know? Some time ago, a mountain of light burst out from the mountain stream, which can be seen thousands of miles away. Since then, many masters have come, but they are very scared of the content inside, they dare enter the blood river to view. Yaming understood this, presumably because of the movement made by Ji Rugjia, but he was not in the blood, but he was seen by the people above. He took a breath and said, "You feel relieved, I'm going to rescue Zhang Shui." Master, Zhang Shui is a princess, and the White Tiger Dynasty won't do anything to her. Instead, the master should be careful and leave here quickly. Xiao Qiang advised. Yaming said lightly, "Don't worry, I will also take Zhang Shui to Marriage Lake, this trip will not come in vain." After that, he cut off the contact with Xiao Qiang. The White Tiger Dynasty is located west of the Tianyuan continent. Among the 5 dynasties, the White Tiger Dynasty is the relatively weak one. It has the smallest area and the weakest military power. However, the relationship between the White Tiger Dynasty and the other 4 dynasties is good. Regimes and powers, on the other hand, are the most stable, and business is extremely prosperous. In terms of taxation, the White Tiger Dynasty is the highest of the 5 dynasties. After entering the White Tiger Dynasty, Yaming changed his appearance, and then contacted Haoshan Jiao. Through Haoshan teaching, he soon got the news. Zhang Shui is indeed in the White Tiger Dynasty, but is currently under control. The Suzaku Dynasty has also sent someone over there, and is preparing to take Zhang Shui away. When Zhang Shui returns, she will be punished. Yaming trembled. I want to save her. In the White Tiger Palace, the residence of Prince Beihu, Mrs. Zhang stared coldly at Zhang Shui and asked, "Do you really know where Yaming is?" "How do I know?" Zhang Shui said coldly, "We are not familiar at all." "Unfamiliar? Will you run away if you are unfamiliar? Zhang Tai was furious. Don't think that your father and emperor spoil you, and I won't take you seriously. I told you that my father had ordered me before I came. Right to execute you. Zhang Suejiao was shocked. You bullshit. Father emperor will never make such an order. She obviously did not want to believe it. Zhang Tai smiled on the yin and yin. I am nonsense? Will the imperial edict write nonsense? Then, he threw a roll of the imperial edict to Zhang Shui. Zhang Shui took a look, and the above sentence made her feel like a lightning strike. Too much. Zhang Tai escorted Piao Snow Princess back to the north, and if there was resistance, he would kill on the spot. After a while, Zhang Shui was in tears. Why was that loving father and empress so heartless? Piao Xu, are you afraid now? Zhang Tai said coldly. Say, where is Yeming? How can he be worthy of you if he is a Dalit? Go back and find it for your brother. A noble child is not 10,000 times better than that pariah. Shut up. Zhang Shui looked cold. My business, you are not qualified. Snapped. Zhang was furious, and shaking his hand was a slap. Zhang Shui was knocked to the ground, and the corners of his mouth overflowed with blood. She was still expressionless. Coldly, you don't want to ask him out of my mouth. Can't ask? It's okay, don't forget to be proficient in soul searching for your brother. Zhang Tai said to the yin, the pain of being soul searched, don't you want to try? Zhang Shui trembled, but bit her silver teeth and said nothing. Mrs. Zhang sighed heavily. Piao Xu, you don't see the coffin and you don't cry, then you blame me for being ruthless. Having said that, he raised his hand and pressed down on Zhang Suimin's face door, and he was about to perform a great soul-searching magic. Stop. Mrs. Zhang, are you up to this point? Even your sister has to deal with it. In the hall, a guard suddenly stood up and scolded the visit. This guard is Yeming. As early as yesterday, he stunned a guard, disguised as him and mixed into Prince's mansion, waiting for the opportunity to rescue Zhang Shui. However, at the moment Zhang Shui was about to be searched by the soul. He couldn't sit still anyway, but stood up and stopped. Mrs. Zhang shuddered and then laughed wildly. Yeming, you really don't know how to live or die, you dare to jump out yourself. Good, very good. Beside Yeming, Zhang Shui was lifted up by himself, and Wen said, what a fool, can't you tell him my position? I have to suffer. With tears in her eyes, Zhang Suimei said, you are a fool, why do you come out? Can you still get away? Can't get away, just stay with you. Yeming smiled. Zhang Suifang's heart shook, and suddenly Wow cried, seeming sad and happy, but I don't want you to die. Yeming said lightly, want to kill me? Mrs. Zhang can't do such a stupid thing. Zhang Tai angered, what did you say? Yeming said lightly, I said you stupid, don't want to leave me. Come, take it. There were more than 10 martial arts and deities immediately rushing around, and several arrogant divine thoughts rolled down and blasted to Yeming and Zhang Shui. However, it was strange that Yeming and Zhang Shui seemed to be just two phantoms, without any help. Mrs. Zhang felt very bad, and said angrily, what's going on? Yeming smiled and said, I came here yesterday, and I haven't been idle this day. I laid a phantom transfer array here. Zhang Shui and I are already thousands of miles away, you see yes, it's just a phantom. After all, the two disappeared. Mrs. Zhang was about to go crazy and roared, come, hurry up. Numerous masters poured out of Prince's mansion, chasing past in all directions. Soon, the masters of the White Tiger dynasty also went out and pursued. However, the sea of people is vast, where is the shadow of Yeming and Zhang Shui? It wasn't until the people in Prince's house almost emptied that Yeming and Zhang Shui showed up in an inconspicuous corner. He wiped his cold sweats and said, it's really hanging. If Zhang wasn't stupid enough, I wouldn't have cheated him. It turned out that where he laid out what phantom transfer array, only a stealth formation was laid. If it wasn't for Zhang too messy, but if he searched carefully, he would certainly find clues. Zhang Shui wiped her tears and said, you can be so bold. Yeming pulled her, let's go, it's too dangerous here, we have to go to Marriage Lake. Zhang Suiwei is a princess and has never been so sad as she did today. She never expected that the loving father Emperor Suzaku would order her a darling order. She was not as happy as she is today, because she risked her life save her in distress. With the help of flying dragons, Yaming quickly left the Hutu Palace. He was about to move on, and Zhang Shui suddenly shyly said, "I'm tired." Yaming froze. "Tired? I thought you were a grand martial artist, and I was always flying, so where did this come from?" But he was a woman, and he could only say, "Would you like to take a break?" Zhang Shui shook his head, "It is better to stay away from the Hutu Palace." Yaming scratched his head, "What then?" Zhang Xuexi said strangely, "Are you Yulin's head? Can't you carry me?" Yaming rolled his eyes at once, "I was also grateful that you carried me from the Qinglong dynasty to the Hutu dynasty, and in just a few days, you will turn me on your back and refuse to suffer." Muttering in his mouth, he still bent down and let Zhang Shui lie on his back. In a short time, he felt a pair of great soft plunders on his back, and then a pair of white stern arms wrapped around his neck. "Hey, nerd, let's go." Zhang Suejiao shuddered, with a shy expression. Yaming grinned, holding her thighs with both hands, starting slippery, slightly cool and soft, could not help but sway in his heart, and said, "Then you stabilized." Immediately flew to the air, all the way to the west. At this time it was late at night, and because they were flying high, the two could clearly see the stars in the sky. Zhang Shui looked up at the jade neck, her face filled with joy and happiness, and said softly, "Yaming, I'm a girl. You can't bully me in the future." Yaming rolled his eyes, "I've bullied you? Why don't I remember? Besides, I want to bully you, and you have to be willing to do it." The two's understanding of bullying is obviously not in the same realm. The latter was suddenly embarrassed and angry, and Yu Xiao stabbed him in the chest. "It doesn't hurt, but it's numb." Yaming almost fell down, knowing that it would be necessary for him to continue the trouble. He quickly said, "Zhang Shui, what are you going to do in the future? Will Suzaku the Great really kill you?" Zhang Shui felt bitter and said, "I don't know." Yaming was silent, but also a little bit distressed, "I don't know how to place each other. Speaking of which, it was all about him. If he hadn't agreed to Zhang Shui's request to take her out, there would not have been so many things." "Yaming, shall I follow you?" "Okay." Zhang Shui uttered a mosquito, almost inaudible. Yaming is not a fool. On the contrary, he is very smart. How can he not see Zhang Shui's feelings? It is just that his enemies are all over the world, and he is still insecure, and Solan has not been rescued. If you bring Zhang Shui again, wouldn't you pit people? After a moment of silence, he said, "Tiger poisons do not eat children, let alone human beings. You still see your father an emperor, and you have not committed and reasoned, he will not really punish you." Zhang Shui shook his head, "Anyway, I'm cold and don't want to see him anymore. The most ruthless emperor's house, you should understand." Yaming advised, "With the status of Princess Suzaku, you are far better than ordinary people whether you practice or have a future, so you can't afford to lose it. Wait for your step, get into the spirit, even set foot on the long march, and ask for your freedom not later." Zhang Shui knew that Yaming was thinking for her, and she sighed softly, "I listen to you." When the sun rose, the two finally reached the Lake of Marriage. The Marriage Lake is not large. It is said that through the reflection of the lake, you can see people accompanying you throughout your life. The scenery of the Marriage Lake is very beautiful. Although it is early in the morning, there are countless young girls and girls who come here, one by one, love and jealousy. Near the Lake of Marriage, Zhang Shui seemed to become a shy girl, with both expectation and fear in her expression. She slowly approached the lake, her eyes staring, trying to see the other half of the reflection. However, as she approached, Yaming also came to make fun, staring at the lake side by side with her, then scratching her head and asking curiously, "What Marriage Lake is deceiving, there is only you and me in it." Zhang Shui was not disappointed at all, but her face was flushed. She pouted and said, "Let's go." "That's it." Yaming didn't understand, has come so hard, at least a few more. I've seen it. She pulled Yaming and jumped into the air, she didn't want to stay long. Yaming had no choice but to take her away, muttering to Bai repeatedly. Shortly after they left, a young girl and a teenager came to the lake. The girl asked the teenager shamefully, Alung, if I saw someone in the lake, would you be angry? Alung grinned, stupid girl, this marriage lake must be viewed by two people at the same time. If there is a fate, the reflection will be very clear, if it is incomparable, the reflection of the other side will be blurred. Then he held the girl, go to the lake side by side. In the lake, there were two clear reflections. The girl was very happy, and was tightly held tight by the young boy Aaron, and gave a deep kiss. They said that Yaming and Zhang Shui crossed the White Tiger dynasty and reached the coast of the West Sea. The West China Sea does not have the prosperity of the East China Sea, nor the mystery of the South China Sea. The West Sea is rarely mentioned in people's mouth, and it seems to have forgotten it. But when they stood on the beach on the west coast, they were fascinated by its unique scenery. In the setting sun, the West Sea is golden and the sea and sky are beautiful. Several seabirds swept across the sky, making a pleasant tweet. Really beautiful, Zhang Shui murmured, Yaming, you will accompany me once a year in the future. Yaming hummed a few times, no time. The atmosphere was destroyed at once. Zhang Shui's delicate hands clenched the former's ears, biting her teeth and asked viciously, are you free? Yaming was sore in pain, he said, I will accompany you when I have time. Zhang Shui then let go and smiled, it's almost the same. Also. Zhang Shui suddenly thought of something, you look back and take a break from the wind. The old woman is old, and you are not afraid that the old bone is holding you. Yaming almost jumped up and shouted, what are you talking about? I haven't touched her, how could she get me? You mean, you want to touch her in the future? Zhang Suliu's eyebrows stood upright and murderous. Yaming grinned, I want to touch early, will I wait until later? Zhang Shui snorted, maybe they won't let you touch it. Isn't it that the marriage between you is a deal? The Emperor Qinglong didn't admit you. Since you can't touch it, you don't like her, so leave early. Wonderful. Phew, I will definitely take a break. Yaming Shuang agreed quickly. As for what he thought, only he knew it. The two were looking at the ocean view, but suddenly the huge sailing ship approached. This ship is so huge, it is so large that it is hundreds of miles away, you can see its existence, and it is moving fast. Viewers on the coast talked a lot, and they seemed to recognize the ship. The West Sea King is back. Yaming and Zhang Shui were shocked when they heard the words West Sea King. In the Uranus continent, in addition to the 5 great emperors, there are 3 powerful kings. Their status is extremely special, they do not listen to the 5 dynasties, and the king is recognized by the 5 dynasties at the same time. In other words, each of them has 5 shares and 5 territories at the same time. The 5 kings are the West Sea King, North Sea King, and South Xinjiang King. Among them, the king of the West Sea is the most famous. According to rumors, his power is not even weaker than any of the 5 dynasties. Of course, the rumor is just a rumor, only the West Sea King himself knows. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more chapters.